Welcome to the Rocky Mountain ATV MC Mason-Dixon GNCC. Well, Landon, it's hard to believe, man, back at it. Another weekend here in the GNCC and coming off another win by Caleb Russell.
Yeah, no, it's good to be back here. We were here for our first time last year, and things turned out really good. But we go back 2 weeks to the Black Sky GNCC up in New York. Caleb Russell came away with another win, and I think somewhat similar to our four-wheeler race that we talked about yesterday. It didn't come easy for him.
No.
Ricky Russell, out of the blue, was just on it. He was on fire all day long, and things just seemed to be clicking. And actually, he had the lead with, I don't know, maybe 4 corners, 5 corners.
It's very close. It was good.
And Caleb, with the experience he has, made the pass stick, got back around him with another win. And then in third place, we had Thad Duvall back on the podium where he knows where he can be, and I'm sure he's looking for a big win today.
You're exactly right. And Lane Michael leading early on in that one.
Yes.
So some of the young guys getting a piece of the action. And then, of course, Ben Kelly wrapping up the championship in the XC2.
Yes, big day for him. That I believe he's won 10 out of 10 so far. So perfect season. I believe I heard that he is staying in XC2.
That's what I heard. Going for a perfect year.
Perfect season. Even though he's got it wrapped up, I'm sure they would like to see a perfect season out of Ben Kelly, and I think he has the potential to do it.
He certainly does. And, of course, our FMF XC3, Jesse Ansley back in the center of the box. That points championship yet to be decided.
Yeah, we had Cody Barnes in there battling him. They had a really good battle there in the XC3 class, but unfortunately Cody Barnes has an injury now. I think he may be out for the rest of the season. So Ansley, he just needs to put her in cruise control and make things happen for the rest of the year now.
Well, there you go, guys. The stage is set here at the Mason-Dixon GNCC. Let's go to the starting line with Rodney Tomlin.
Well, thanks a lot, guys, down here on the starting line as we get set to roll here from the Mason-Dixon GNCC, literally on the state line of Pennsylvania and West Virginia. And we find our way down here into the start in the first turn region. And, of course, we find a rider that really picked things up as we return from the break here this summer. And, of course, just 2 weeks ago, put a real pressure on the possibility of a win. And I know he's hungry for another one here today. We're talking about Ricky Russell. And, Ricky, I tell you, as we roll into round number 11, 3 rounds of racing left to go. Nothing left to really prove except that you can do it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just, like I said earlier, I just want to get out there, get a good start, and do what I did 2 weeks ago, and just be there in the end. So if I can do that, I'll be happy.
Well, can he do that? Can he be there in the end? Stick around and find out. We'll know in about 3 hours. But right now, let's meet our starting lineup for this Mason-Dixon GNCC. Rolling to the line first today, he rides aboard the number 1, hailing from Boonville, North Carolina, on an FMF Cafe KTM Factory Racing KTM, Caleb Russell. Second in points, rolling to the line on the 989 from Williamstown, West Virginia, featured on the event t-shirt on the Rockstar Energy Factory Husqvarna Racing Husky, Bad Thad Duvall. Rolling to the line third today, he opened the season with a win aboard the 514 from Hodges, South Carolina on a Thiele Energy Racing KTM, Stu Baylor. Fourth in points, riding aboard the number 739, hailing from Morganton, North Carolina on a Rockstar Energy Factory Husky Racing Machine. Welcome back to Trevor Bollinger. He is sixth in points, riding aboard the 127 from Livingston, Tennessee on a Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki, Jordan Ashburn. Seventh in points, riding aboard the 410 from Birdsboro, Pennsylvania on a Phoenix Honda Racing-backed Honda, Andrew DeLong. A great race just 2 weeks ago and hoping to capitalize again here today. Riding aboard the number 212, hailing from Duval, Washington on an Am-Pro Yamaha, backed by Moose Racing and Parts Unlimited. He's rough, he's rowdy, it's Ricky Russell. 9th in points aboard the number 206 from Winston, Connecticut, our rookie on an FMF KTM Factory Racing KTM, Josh Toth. Riding aboard the number the number 314. He is ranked 10th in points. He hails from Belton, South Carolina on a Teely Energy Racing KTM, Grant Baylor. Aboard the 530 from Harwinton, Connecticut on a Trail Jesters Factory KTM backed by FMF. His pro racing debut as he wrapped up the XC2 title just 2 weeks ago. Welcome, Ben Kelly. Riding aboard the 941 from Fort Mill, South Carolina on a Lenovo Racing Kawasaki Stiller Motorsports Kawasaki, Chris Vendetti. The 788 machine, hailing from Freedom, Pennsylvania, on the Kawasaki, Josh Heinz. Riding aboard the 116, visiting from our sister series of the GNCC from Japan, on the Yamaha, Takori Nakahima. And of course the 523 from Boonville, North Carolina on the Husqvarna Amsoil FXR Husky, Lane Michael. And that, ladies and gentlemen, your starting lineup for this Mason-Dixon GNCC. And the lunches is coming out, folks. If you haven't hit the concession stand, where's that coming from? That's good stuff right there. XC1 class open pro getting ready to roll first. Here's Lane Michael, finds his way down onto the starting line now, and we clear the areas now and find all of our safety zones and check those to make sure everyone is out of where they shouldn't be. And Ricky Towery gives them the fire 'em up signal, which means we are within 2 minutes likely of the waving of the green flag here on the Mason-Dixon line. A race today that literally will take us across the border of 2 states, the state of from the state of Pennsylvania into the state of West Virginia. And once again, if you've studied and know your history, the Mason-Dixon line, a very historic marker as far as separating the North from the South back during the Civil War era. Well, obviously we have outgrown those types of tussles and fusses and such, and our families have all come together as we've joined together as one great United States of America. But we live proud here, and we remember the sacrifices made across that line by families, brothers, sisters, you name it. And of course today, friends and foes go at it here on 2 wheels at this Mason-Dixon GNCC. We are just 1 week away, or 1 minute away. 1 minute away from the wave. I know, right? 1 minute, less than a minute to go now as we get set to roll through the hills of southern Pennsylvania into the mountains and rocks of West Virginia. Our attention turns to Ricky Towery down on turn number 1 as he gets ready to orchestrate this series of starts now. And he waves that blue flag, the dead engine calls. Shut them down, guys, shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. It's time to go and time to roll. And I gotta ask you, PA and West Virginia, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Hell yeah! Pretty good, but I gotta remember we are in the heart of GNCC country, so I'm gonna ask you one more time. Mason-Dixon, are you ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds. And row number 1, the XC1 Pro, will be off and rolling at the Rocky Mountain ATV MC Mason-Dixon GNCC. $250 up for grabs as we round the first turn. Caleb Russell battling for it, but oh, Ricky Russell does it again. 2 races in a row, he grabs a whole shot. Look at that, Russell. Caleb bumps him out and takes over the lead. It's Caleb Russell up front, Ricky Russell in second, and the battle in the war has just begun. The XC2 250 Pro coming up next with Craig DeLong, Jesse Grom, Ryder Lafferty, Austin Lee, Liam Draper, Dylan Yearberry. Also Michael Witkowski, Hunter Bush, Ben Parsons, Alex Teagarden, Evan Smith, Benjamin Nelko, Sam Evans, Zach Hayes, Hunter North, and Jonathan Johnson in 10 seconds. And they're off. $100 hole shot up for grabs, courtesy of our friends at Wiseco and All Balls Bearings and Components. It's Michael Witkowski on the American Beta machine out front in this one, a 282 machine, taking to the early lead out of North Liberty, Indiana. FMF XC3, the 125 Pro-Am class. Joe Marsh, Mike DeLosa, Chase Colville, Jesse Ansley, Jason Lipscomb, and Jake Froman all ready to roll as Ricky Towery readies row number 3 and lets them know 10 seconds. And they're off. Jesse Ansley donning and sporting that number 1 plate. I believe capturing that, or working on capturing that again here in 2019, but he's got plenty of stiff competition. It is, I believe that was Chase Colville on that Lojax Racing Yamaha that just took over the early lead. 258 class, Simon Johnson, Chase Hayes, Ryder LeBlanc, Brody Johnson, Brendan Poling, Joseph Logan, along with Trevor Getz, Jeffrey Hannon, Ian Santee, Nathaniel Tasha, Tyler Braniff. 10 seconds. Josh Farrell, Cole Whitmer, Dakota DeVore, Andrew Gross, Tristan Landrum, and Brandon Higgins. All right, all right, all right. It's 2:35. That is Brody Johnson from Landrum, South Carolina on a Range Riding University Fly Racing Kenda Tire back Kawasaki. Open A class, Levi Keller, Josh Lee, Austin Zink, Zach Hugel, Brady Myers, Jacob Barnes, Dylan Carano, Kopi Beckert, and Jason Smalley. 10 seconds. Open A bikes. Around that first turn, 6:13 on the machine. It is 381 on his helmet tag. That's Zach Hugel from Seneca, Pennsylvania on a Prostal MX Buchanan Racing backed Yamaha. 200A class coming up next with Sean Meyer, Zach Davidson, Jake Ross, Tanner Collins, Dominic Morris, Max Fernandez, Logan Kiddick, Dustin Vincent, and Dylan Zimpelwin. 10 seconds. .490 Max Fernandez out of Ottsville, Pennsylvania. Good jump off the line, but he gets overtaken there. The 199 is Zachary Davidson from Iron Station, North Carolina on the Husky USA Dunlop Fly, and Chad Davis Racing Machine grabs the lead. 4-stroke A lights. We got Tyler Soriano, Justin Murphy, Tanner Cowart, Dylan Dela Cruz, Russell Smith, Alex Lugar, Johnny Monera, Mitchell Owenby, Adam Parker, Nathan Rector, Cody Meeks. 10 seconds. Josh Guffey, Ian Flynn, Grady Faint, and Henry Szymanski. Sorted out in turn 1 as they make that drive to turn 2. Try to solidify things. 385, Nathan Rector from Rogersville, Missouri. Out of Marionville Power Sports, Moose Racing and Maxis backed machine. Up next, Junior AB 25 plus class. Andrew Boggs, Andrew Matusik, Matt Bruffy, Tyler Brunton, David Muchisco, Justin Medez. Also Joseph McCarty, Cole Robbins, and Jesse Kildo in 10 seconds. Tyler Brunton, Troutman, North Carolina, on a KTM with about 4 bike lengths anyway, lead into that second turn. I think it's safe to say he's grabbing that early lead, at least right now in the Junior AB class. Up next is the Vet A 30 plus class. Got Sam Forrester, Jared Hoffman, Louis Olean, Mikhail Gomez, also Joshua Wyatt, Surly Amancio, James Bauer, Luenzo Sanchez, Nathan Allring, Steve Lembruno, Tom Truxell, Matt Modick, Bills of India, and Tommy Curtis in 10 seconds. Green flag waving on this one. As they round the first turn now, making that dive to turn number 2. Who's going to come out on top? It's the 48, Sam Forster from Elkton, Maryland on the Cherry Hill cycle back ride. Wow, look at that. He's running turbo, it looks like, out there as he pulls out miles ahead of the competition. Senior A 40-plus class coming up next. Smiling Frank Messina, Shotgun Sean Remington, Frank Tussle, John Beaver, Gregory Richardson, Jeremy Quinn, Joel Stoles, Paul Lynch. 10 seconds. Jeff Husted, also Bo Hamlet, Tim Creeth, and Jason Stickley. Around that first turn now into turn 2. Wow, we got a lot of position jockeying. Was that 266? Joel Stoles from Union City, Pennsylvania, grabs the early lead as we go down now from Senior A to Vet B. 10 seconds. Larry Hopper, Ross Kennedy, Philip Solon, Dave Hill, Danny Hafty, Nathan Barkley, Gary Bassang, Sam Bishop, William O'Brien, Ernest Martin, Adam Glass, Mike Swartz, Adam Williams, Joshua Webb, Jimmy Johnson, and Nathan Ham. All right, who's it going to be? Mike Swartz is in a good position, but he gets pinched off, it looked like, there by the 417, also known as the 374 of Danny Hafty from Verona, Pennsylvania, who grabs the early lead here in this Vet B 30-plus class. Open B class coming up next. Matt Sorge, Peyton Harden, Chris Lemasters, Gregory Tenney, Alan Blavos, Dominic Jarvis, Junior Smith, also Brendan Bishop, John Wagner, Jared Miranda. 10 seconds. Eric Waddell, Malcolm Pastine, Ethan Waddell, Colton Hawk, Corey Noggle, Case Armitage, Brian Schell, Michael Modick, Shane Palmer, and Jared Messer. Brian Schell out of Sure, West Virginia. Oh, mercy. Gets, he was right in line, and the rider he was battling with goes down, so he gets the early lead on the 710. Brian Schell out of Sure, West Virginia. Peyton Harden out of Stamping Ground, Kentucky was right beside him in that first turn. He's the one that took the digger. Senior B 40-plus class, Gene Swedwa, Leon Whitaker, Igor Soares, Jeffrey Vanesky, Joseph Thomas, Mike Horwath, Adam Miller, Joey Smith, Darren Darmos, and Scott Matheny in 10 seconds. And the green flag waves on our Senior B, the 40-plus class riders, as they jockey for position up this long start now. And into the turn 1, we got a 94 on the bike. Let's see if we can sort it out and get a GNCC number. That is a 994 of Scott Matheny out of Hurricane, West Virginia, on a Biggie Smalls Racing Amsoil CD-backed ride. Woo! 4-stroke B lights, TJ Fine, Alexander Patterson, Bryce Alkire, Corey Mihalek, Tyler Daniels, Hunter Cleveland, and Andrew Tinkerin. 10 seconds. .405 or 8, Hunter Cleveland from Aaron, New York on a Lanes Yamaha. Whoa, got a little squirrely in that rocks in that first turn, so it opens up the door. 232 Alexander Patterson out of Cambridge, Ohio will now grab the early lead. 250 B class coming up next. So we got Garrett Orbester, Austin Hovatter, Philip Dagnanes, Cody Martin, Jacob Maynard, Adam Thomas, Sean Kirkpatrick. 10 seconds. Samuel Wilson, Joseph Cunningham, Austin Hepler, Alan Nolding, AJ Opplinger, Noah Martz, Aaron Martz, Warren Friend, Dylan Gore, Alexander Suman, Bradley Chapman, Buggy Funk, Dylan Vignoli, Nick Alini, and Jesse Gross. By the way, JoJo Cunningham winning the Youth National Championship, making his 3-hour race debut here today. Oh, 234, that might have been 214 of Austin Hovatter from Arthurdale, West Virginia, grabbing that early lead there. Oh, and 200B class coming up next. Cole Faleo, Trent Gaither, Max Russ, Anthony Blackburn, John Switzer. 10 seconds. Ezra Judd, Lucas Grounds, Briar Burgess, Kobe Dunham, Patrick Murray, Blaiston Moore, and Ezra Pine. How's it all going to sort out here? Wow, man, a lot of changes in that one. It ends up being the 219 to Max Rust at Iron Station, North Carolina. He's riding on an FXR machine, and he takes that early lead in this 250B class. And that's it, my friends. Our start is done and over. As we put the remainder of some 800 riders out there on the track, 207 here this afternoon. And of course, we're rolling through the Mason-Dixon line. Who's going to come out on top? Will Ricky Russell be able to repeat his performance from 2 weeks ago? Will he challenge Caleb Russell? Looks like these boys are ready to battle on the Mason-Dixon line. Stick around. GNCC Live continues right after this.
Confidently maneuver around obstacles on the trail. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil was subjected to an extreme simulated start test. After 32 simulated race starts, AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil continued to deliver consistent clutch feel, and the clutch plates remained clean with no visible wear. The competitor's oil, however, allowed discoloration and significant wear after just 16 starts. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil. Give your bike the protection it needs.
What is your passion? Hitting the perfect line, finding the perfect trail, routing the perfect adventure, or just living and breathing the moto life? Do you feel pride for a job well done after tackling a late night in the shop? Do you enjoy time spent with friends and family in the great outdoors? Spanning over 3 decades, one name has taken the lead for supplying the best powersport parts, accessories, and apparel to fuel your passion. One name that knows it goes beyond getting you the best prices, quickest shipping, or largest selection. One name that builds and innovates for our industry. One name that teaches, helps, and supports our fellow riders, racers, and organizations. We are Rocky Mountain ATV MC. We have transformed a team of moto enthusiasts into a powerful teaching team to ensure that you make the best purchasing decision with your hard-earned cash. We build communities with fellow riders to provide you with all you need to make a good decision. See customer photos, reviews, Q&As, and more while you're on our easy-to-use website. Need help fast? Live chat with our specialists, email, or drop us a line. Visit us today and experience the best in OEM and aftermarket parts, accessories, apparel, and industry-leading information. We offer lightning quick shipping, free on orders over $75, a huge inventory, free apparel exchanges both ways, and customer service that leaves all others behind. Experience one name that leads all others. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
The action is just heating up, and we're just getting started. Stay with us, live action on RacerTV.com.
The all-new Yamaha Wolverine X2. With a compact chassis perfect for exploring tight technical terrain. An ultra-quiet and smooth 850 class twin-cylinder engine. And next-level versatility with a 600-pound dumping cargo bed. No other side-by-side delivers this level of proven off-road performance. The all-new Wolverine X2 from Yamaha.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Cometic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment. Whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts depend on Cometic. Cometic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
This Racer TV broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. Specialized Turbo e-bikes, it's you, only faster. And by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
Welcome back to GNCC Live. I'm Mikey Waynes. You've already heard from my colleague, Rodney Tomlin, down there on the starting line. Of course, with that iconic 10-second call. And we'll be joined in the booth here in a moment by Johnny Gallagher as well, getting the riders' input on today's race. And here we are, round number 11, the Rocky Mountain ATV MC Mason-Dixon, or round 10. Is this round 10? I've lost track, man. Round 11. Okay, I wanted to make sure. So I was right. Graphic a little off. That's all right, though. So, yeah, taking a look here, some action on the track there. And last reports we got, Caleb Russell worked his way out in front of Ricky Russell. So, boy, this sounds familiar, don't it? Just reminiscent of just a couple of weeks ago. And taking a look at today's track map here, the Yamaha Racing track map. And for the 1 p.m. bike race, about an 11-mile course for these guys out here today. And definitely a little different than how we have ran here in the past. Not as much of that open field section as we've seen. And a lot of that has to do, I think, when they set it up with the weather we were having, it would have just created an absolute dust bowl. Saw dust major factor yesterday, definitely a factor in this morning's race, but should shape up to be a pretty good one here today, as this one's definitely going to give these guys a little bit of everything. And you can see on the screen right there now some of these things these guys are going to have to deal with as far as that dust we were talking about. And I believe coming into today's race, we actually had an opportunity to get some of the pro riders' perspective on coming in here to the Mason-Dixon.
Yeah, we're here at round 11, Mason-Dixon, and it's shaping up to be a pretty good day. Overcast skies, and it's a little dry and dusty out here. Some loose rocks everywhere, and it's going to be a little sketchy, but we'll get through it, and it should be a good day.
Yeah, so today, just try to get a good start and get out front and stay ahead of the dust. It's pretty dry out there, and I highly doubt it's going to rain, so the dust is going to be tough with being able to see, and then also keeping your bike running because the air filter might clog up and suck some dirt, and you could have a mechanical. So it's going to be a tough day.
Yeah, for today at the Mason-Dixon, it's pretty dusty. It hasn't rained for a while. We didn't get that rain last night, and I think it's going to be the start will be key. My Beta 250 will start pretty good, I hope, and get out front and just hopefully lead and yeah, not get caught up in all the dust.
All right, so got the perspective of some of our XC2 guys there, and that should get mixed up today with I was going to say Josh Toth. How about his doppelganger on the racetrack, Ben Kelly, moving up to the XC1, and the two guys out in front, Johnny. Maybe you've seen it. Last we heard was Caleb Russell out front, Ricky Russell running in the number 2 spot. So like I was telling the guys at home, real reminiscent of last week.
Well, actually, the last I had seen them was in VP Fuels Pro Row. I don't know if you've seen him since then, but it was Caleb Russell leading the way, and Ricky Russell was in third.
Was it Ashburn in second?
It was Jordan Ashburn in second, Ricky Russell in third. Fourth place, as they came through the VP Fuels Pro Row, is Josh Toth. So that was the top 4, and I believe you know, they were all pretty close, but I was surprised for only, I mean, that's, you know, roughly 2 miles, a little over 2 miles into the track with the start loop added in, and they were pretty strung out, and I mean, that pretty clear why that's happening as you look at the conditions here. You know, it's just visibility is paramount, and the guys up front are going to have a big advantage, at least for the first lap.
You're exactly right. That was one of the things some of our XC2 guys were talking about. But Ricky Russell, man, that third place start, he's coming off a great race, literally almost down to the wire, just a race ago. And coming in here to today, we had a chance to catch up with Ricky.
Yeah, no, last weekend was awesome. I got the whole shot, and then actually got passed by a few people, and then just settled in and was able to get back to the front. And Caleb, like Caleb always does, gets to the lead with us, and then me and him kind of battled for a while, and it was kind of who could stay off the ground. We were both crashing left and right, and at the end I was right on him going to the last lap, and some lappers messed me up a little bit, so I was trying to push to make up that ground and crashed really big and broke my front fender off, and I was like, no. And then Thad was right there, and I was like, I'm not going backwards after this day I've had. And so I was able to charge, me and Thad charged, and I was able to catch back up and actually make the pass just before the finish. And coming down into the finish, I wouldn't say blew it, but I took a bad line, and Caleb snuck right back by, and I had to just follow him through the finish. So it's that close for that W, but I was still happy from where I've been to be up there running with him and get that second place. It was and a close to a first place. So I mean, I'll take it. And yeah, it was a good day. Conditions were a little different. Here's going to be really silty, dusty, and still rocky, but last weekend was kind of rocky, moist. There was moisture and rooty, and it was good, so I like that stuff, and I think I like this too. We'll see. It's just want to do, game plan is to do what I did last week and get a good start, and I think start's more important here just with all the dust, and be up front and just battle with those guys all the way to the finish and hopefully be on the top.
See, if you saw on your screen there, that was Jordan Ashburn that went through. We missed Caleb Russell, and right there is Ricky Russell in the number 3 spot. So, Johnny, like you were saying, seeing that separation in these guys now.
Yep. Oh, and this, look at this, the man on the move, Thad Duvall. He was about 7th when I saw him last. Now he's up to that 4 spot, so he's gotten around Toth. He's gotten around. He was actually behind Ben Kelly back, like I said, in about 7th. So now he's up to 4th, and here's where the gap starts. There is Toth now rounding out the top 5 in that 5th place spot, the 206 machine. His second race back with us after a hiatus from a broken femur. That looked to be Trevor Bollinger there on the 739 factory Rockstar Racing Husqvarna. Andrew DeLong was actually up in that number 5 spot before, so now he has dropped back to about the 7th place spot, it looks like. And here comes Lane Michael, the 523 local product from basically just over the hill here in Fairmont, West Virginia. Grew up riding here. There is, I believe that was Stu.
I think it was Stu, yeah.
Baylor. And there is Ben Kelly. So the big question, a lot of people's mind, would Ben Kelly move up to that XC1 class? He has. He's here. And now everybody's wondering how he'll do. There is Grant Baylor. So that'd be rounding out about the top 10 in that XC1 Pro class. I'll tell you what, the gaps are going to be short. I did see Mike Wachowski was well up almost to the rear wheel of the XC1 class. He got that whole shot in the XC2, but it seems the XC1 guys have picked it up, because I tell you, he was only probably about maybe 5 seconds behind Stu Baylor when I saw him in the VP Fuels Pro Row. And now you can see Stu's worked his way up through the pack a little more, and the XC2 guys are falling off. So a fast pace here early. Rare that that we see the XC1 guys pull out like this early, and here they have done it. There is Mike Witkowski on the 282 Factory Beta, Indiana product for you, Mikey.
Yeah,
Williams.
buddy. So let me ask you something. With Ben Kelly moving up from XC2 to finish out these last 3 rounds on row number 1, what does it do to Ben Kelly's mindset? And 2, what does it do to the rest of the pack in the XC2? Do they kind of feel renewed? Is it kind of like, all right, we're back to square one. It's an even playing field. Ben Kelly's got the championship. I want to go out here and make a name for myself now.
Well, 100%. As much as, these guys may or may not want to acknowledge it and talk about it, they were mentally kind of defeated. Craig DeLong was really the only one who was putting up a fight the last couple races. And, here we are now, round 12. Is 11 races in, Ben Kelly perfect in that class. He makes it essentially impossible for those guys to have any hope. So now him not in that class, not out there competing today, it's like a absolute, just a whole new open door for those guys to go for a win. So it's going to breathe a lot of life into their fight, and suddenly you're going to see 5-6 guys that maybe didn't consider themselves podium contenders. They see that extra open spot. The podium's where everybody wants to be, but there's going to be a handful of guys. Liam Draper already up into that number 2 spot. Mike Witkowski, a podium regular, leading the way, and actually the rider that maybe many would have expected to kind of inherit that top spot. Craig DeLong is back in about 5th right now, but he is on the charge. He was actually closer to outside the top 10 when I saw him in VP Fuels Pro Row. Here is our XC3 leader. That is Jesse Ensley. Look at that. He is already well into the XC2 class, around the 1-2-3 of Austin Lee. So a fast start today for Jesse Ensley, and he's working his way, wants to get up and try and get within that top 20 overall.
Real quick announcement here at the track. Travis Fetter, you are parked somewhere you do not belong. You need to move your vehicle right now. So Travis Fetter, if you hear us out there, if you know the whereabouts of Travis Fetter, get with him and make sure that car gets moved. And if you can't move it, we definitely have the equipment to move it for you.
Bulldozers do not make good tow trucks. They just
don't.
drag things. So
They
you
just
might want to
drag
get that
things.
thing moved, Travis.
Yep.
But yeah, and the other side of that, what you were saying, Mikey, was, how does that affect the XC2 class, the mentality of those guys? Also, the other part of that question you asked was, what does it do for Ben Kelly, his first race in XC1? It's hard to say. It really is difficult to kind of get inside somebody's head. Ben is a pretty calm, calculated guy. I'm sure that he's probably has some manageable expectations coming into the weekend. I don't think he's coming in and saying, well, I could almost beat these guys from the second row, so now I'm just going to go stomp them from row 1. In the back of his mind, obviously, if he's feeling it, he's going to push the pace. But it is funny, Ben typically within the top 3 overall coming from, that second row on lap 1, and today sitting much further back, even having started. Looked like he didn't get the greatest of starts, and it is dusty today, so not taking anything away from him. But I think it's going to be a little bit of a mind game for him today. The question was asked to me, where do I see him finishing? And, nothing. I like Ben. I would love to see him come out and win. I don't see him better than a top 5. It's just it's too different for your first time out there. I think next year, obviously, it'll be a completely different thing. But speaking of a different thing, we got a leader and we got somebody chasing him, and it's one of those green machines, Mikey Waynes.
Yeah, Jordan Ashburn, hard on that throttle behind Caleb Russell. Like with the dust we were saying, he's almost close enough that the dust doesn't seem to be much of a factor right now. And here comes Ricky Russell in for that 3rd place position. So we'll get a clock on that and see just the exact times these guys are in between each other.
Well, and you can see too, yes, there are riders in front of them, but the gaps right now, they're not really affected in the open sections because there is a little bit of wind, the dust is moving. But in the woods, what happens is, it's not just 1 or 2 bikes dust in front of you. Like these guys now, we're back to the 5th place spot, which is Josh Toth, 6th place Trevor Bollinger. He's made up some ground on Toth there. He's getting close. So we could see a fight over that 5th place spot here very soon. But these guys are starting to have a lot of hanging residual dust once they get in the woods. And if you pan back on this camera shot as you watch, you can see the dust. See how it's kind of starting to build up over there to the right? So we didn't see that the first couple guys through. Believe it or not, as that builds up, just that little bit of haze is enough to, if you're not sure of your line and you're looking at the ground, it might make you check up a little bit or second guess your line choice. See Lane Michael taking a look at his left hand there. Don't know if maybe his glove kind of starting to bunch up. Sometimes you'll see riders do that, and then they'll roll the glove out on the grip to try and stretch it back. So Lane Michael there in the 7th place spot. There is Ben Kelly, looks like into the 8th place spot. If we refresh our Rodney always is much better at this than I am.
Oh, his hit in or your money.
Well, see, you guys got the.
You're right in the overall. It might take a minute. There it is.
All right, so the top 10 are now checked in. Caleb Russell, Jordan Ashburn, Ricky Russell, Thad Duvall, Josh Toth, Trevor Bollinger, Andrew DeLong, Lane Michael was actually in the 8th place spot, Stu Baylor 9th, and Ben Kelly rounding out the top 10 as they come. And pretty soon here, we're going to see the XC2 guys checking in. And last we saw, Mikey, the 282 of Mike Witkowski up front and leading the way. And just on cue, there he pops into our screen. Got that bright Fly Racing helmet. You can't miss that thing, that's for sure. And the sweet sound of two-stroke. So many diehard two-stroke fans at home, they just love listening to that gas rip. You know, they're in my opinion, they're a little bit stuck in the 90s, but I'm not going to tell them that.
It's iconic, man. It's iconic. Well, how about this has kind of got that recipe of a Stu Baylor race where he starts out, you know, toward the bottom of the top 10, and we kind of forget he's there, and then by the end of it, we're like, okay, here comes Stu Baylor. He's up into the top 3. So this has kind of got that feeling to it right here. Liam Draper checked in as well.
Yeah, Liam Draper in the 2 spot right behind Mike Witkowski. And look at this. You can see the dust really starting to build up there, and now we are out a little further here, and that is Trevor Bollinger chasing Ben Kelly. No, I'm sorry, Josh Toth. So this is the battle over 5th right here. You can always tell it's Bollinger because he's one of the few guys still wearing a Camelback on the outside there. You see that high-vis USWE Camelback. The 722 machine, that is Zach Hayes out of South Carolina, and then the 44 of Ryder Lafferty. Those guys will be both within the top 5, I believe, in that XC2 class if we check in with those guys here. It's, you know, today's one of those days, like you said, Stu Baylor definitely could be a good day for him. You see he charges late, and it's going to be one of those days where you got to kind of conserve your energy, but you got to pick your points in the race where you're really going to push the pace and let your speed show, because riding in somebody's dust the whole entire time, it saps your energy, ruins your air filter, clogs up your goggles, you know, makes it hard to breathe, and you're just kind of beating your head against the wall. So what you're going to see a lot of times today is when riders drop back, part of it will be because they can't see, but also they don't want to be in that dust. They'll drop back until a section where they feel like they might have an opportunity to make a run and make a pass. You'll see them make a charge. That's what the smarter riders are going to do today. And when it comes to racecraft, Stu Baylor, you know, and the Baylor boys in general, they've got a lot of experience, and they are not afraid to twist it in the dust. So look for those boys to work their way up through as the race goes on, like you said.
So outside of the dust, which is obviously the big factor, I think, this whole weekend. You guys had it yesterday too, but what are the things that these guys facing with this track? It seemed like on the ATV side, especially on the West Virginia side of the track, really didn't give it a lot of opportunity for passing.
No, it is a pretty one-line track. Jesse Ansley checking in, the leader in that XC3 Pro-Am class, or XC3 Pro-Am, yes. And if we look at our overall, I'll tell you what, I could be wrong, but I'm going to, before getting there, you can verify, Mikey, I haven't looked at it yet, I'm going to say that this might be the first time we've seen Jesse Ansley in the top 20 overall at the end of lap 1. Whether or not I'm right, we'll find out here in a minute. He may still be outside the top 20, but he's darn close if he's not in it, I'm going to say. Now, like you said, when you cross the line into the West Virginia side of the track, and it actually is a line marked that says "Welcome to West Virginia." It not only is it's not, look at that, 19th. So yeah, he's the first.
Wow.
That's, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that's the first time we've ever seen him in the top 20 overall at the completion of lap number 1. Usually it's more towards the middle of the race that he jumps his way up in there, you know, and we've seen him get as high as, I think he got a 14th or 13th once earlier this year, but it seems to be kind of that he outlasts these guys in a little bit of attrition throughout the race. Today, so far, we haven't had anybody dropping out, no problems. He's done it just on pure speed on lap number 1, and I think we're going to see him get up maybe higher than we've ever seen him in the overalls today.
Might be right.
But, you know, Mikey, that side over there on the West Virginia side, it's all new. Like you said, not a lot of passing opportunities over there. It's a very one-lined, a lot of bramble bushes and prickers and stickers, and every town and every state that calls those different jagger bushes, whatever they are. But here, in case you weren't sure, take a look at my legs.
Yeah, no kidding.
The blood everywhere.
My goodness.
That was from this morning's 10 a.m. race out there trying to, look at this. These guys are wheel to wheel. Caleb Russell leading the way, and Jordan Ashburn right behind him on that Babbitt's Racing online Kawasaki machine, giving him all he can handle right now. He is literally in his...
Man.
Wow, he is all over him, almost clipping our camera there. He is trying to make a move and take the lead.
Well, you know, I talked with Jordan in pre-race interviews today, and, you know, I felt an air of confidence about him. Obviously, we've seen it on the racetrack, and his results so far this year is they've been steadily getting better. But, you know, he even made the statement, he says, I want to get on the podium. I want to start winning. So you know, when you hear, and Jordan oftentimes don't talk like that, but whenever he does talk like that, man, there's usually big things to follow. And right here, we're seeing it already, I think, right here for ourselves here on lap number 1. He is right there in the thick of it all, and he's going for it.
You know what, Rodney? I'm going to throw this back because if you remember, I believe it would have been maybe 2000 and I think it was 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. We were at Somerset, and there was absolutely just a dry, dusty dust bowl of a race there at Somerset one year. Mountain Ridge, they called that place. And Jordan Ashburn was up in the top 3 early. He grabbed the lead and checked out. I mean, pulled like, I believe it was over a minute. We'd have to look back, you know, Rodney, I don't know if you may remember off the top of your head. I do know he did not end up winning, but he led until, I think, if I'm not mistaken, his rear wheel came apart, or started to come apart towards the end of the race. And he still ended up on the podium, I think, in maybe second place spot. But at one point, he had like a 1.5-minute lead and was just out there, as you would say, on the ride that dreams are made of. Very similar conditions today. A rough, somewhat rocky track, and very, very dusty. So, you know, the saying is Jordan likes the mud, but maybe today he's going to prove Jordan likes the dust.
Well, I have to tend to think, you know, I think Jordan is just like a lot of these guys. He really just likes to ride his motorcycle. You know, I mean, sometimes, yeah, it does appear that there goes the 739 there, I believe, of Bollinger checking in that 6th place position. But, you know, these guys, they all, and there is the 206 of Toth. There's a bit of a change going on.
Yeah, he's
right
made
there.
the pass there. He's taken over that 5th place spot. We saw they were fighting over it. Now look at that. DeLong is up to Toth. So don't know if maybe Toth went down, but those guys had a little bit of a gap on DeLong, and now DeLong right up to the rear wheel, and here comes Lane Michael.
How about DeLong, though? I mean, consistency so far this year. I mean, normally, I mean, we've been seeing him, and it's been steadily, you know, he's either been fighting outside the top 10 and working his way up into about a 7, 8, 6th place right in there, and he's really solidifying that 7 area right now. And I know he's trying to advance himself. Talked to him also a little bit earlier today. Talked to him pre-race interview, so we had a really good in-depth conversation. But right now, Andrew DeLong is in a place. I mean, he's in that Phoenix Racing Honda team. Honda's got a lot of support, got a lot of belief and a hope in him. He's doing exactly what they hired him to do, and they're not asking anymore from him. And he is giving them everything he's got. And it's a slow process, just like he said. He said, we're just building this together. And I have to tend to think that we're going to see those 7s turn to 6s, the 6s turn to 5s, the 5s turn to 4, and then the next thing you know, he's going to be battling up front for one of those top 3 spots.
You know, I tell you what, Rodney, I'll be the first to admit sometimes when I'm wrong, and Andrew's a good friend. I like Andrew a lot, and you know, he's kind of had a struggle the last several years, was on that factory Husky squad, and, you know, won that National Enduro Championship, was a contender, leading races at GNCCs, and then it was just injury after injury, and the complications of trying to, you know, get his fitness back and get range of motion in that wrist and everything that came along with it. It seemed like, you know, a lot of people had started to write off Andrew. I know he's a hard worker, you know, but I kind of had envisioned with Andrew, you know, having a child now, and, you know, kind of settle into family life, and talking with him, he said, you know, I like working. You know, he was working, he was driving a scrap truck, and you know, he's a worker. He's a guy that likes to, there is Caleb Russell on screen leading the way. Still, Jordan Ashburn right in his little, they got that little 2-second window where the dust hasn't quite risen up yet, and Jordan Ashburn is just riding right there, trying to stay in that little window. But you know, I thought maybe DeLong would be content to, you know, just kind of ride off into the sunset. And then, you know, he was putting in some good rides with that Gas team, Fred Andrews, the last couple years. But it just seemed, you know, he wasn't quite up in there battling inside the top 10 or the top 5. It was kind of, you know, just solid rides. But, you know, you could tell it wasn't the Andrew DeLong of old. And I'll tell you what, you hit the nail on the head. This Phoenix Honda Racing team, giving him the opportunity to be their flagship rider, to be their, you know, their leader. You know, he's got experience. He's won races. He's won championships, and across multiple different, you know, series and types of racing. You know, he is a guy that can help them build a program. And hats off to David Eller and Eric Surratt and all those guys on that Phoenix Racing team, because they have come in a big, big way. And I know David Eller has invested a lot of himself, his company, and you know, to bring Honda back to GNCC Racing. So kudos to him for that, and also for giving a guy like Andrew DeLong an opportunity to prove that, hey man, I'm not done yet. I got some fight left in this old dog. And man, he's proven it today. He's proven it several times this year. And you know, just when you think it's one of those things where it may not look all that impressive, but I think at one point last race he was outside the top 50 or 60 overall and came back to, I want to say it was 14th. You know, and to tell you what, that is a fight right there, because none of these guys are giving you a space. None of these guys are giving you time. So he dug his heels in and said, look, even on my worst day with all kinds of issues and being minutes and minutes behind, I'm going to prove that, you know, I'm meant to be here.
And amazingly, that the team recognizes that desire, that heart, and you know, it's great. And like I said, it's a great home for him, and I think that Honda's found a great home here in the GNCC. We'll see a bigger presence out of them next year on Pro Row, obviously with a top 10 rider, maybe even a couple of top 10 riders. Who knows what they got up their sleeve. But good to see Honda back. Good to see Kawasaki back this year too. They come out in full force, obviously with Jordy and Josh and so forth, and putting together a great effort with Fred Andrews over there. So it's good to see the revitalization of that Pro Row over there, the factory, the true full-on factory involvement as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's been a long road back for Kawasaki. You know, they were here. They were a massive part of GNCC racing many years ago. You saw it was almost the majority of the bikes. You know, they had a great market share, and then companies like KTM and Yamaha and you know, some others have come in and they've really invested into GNCC and off-road, and you've seen their numbers and their market go up. And Kawasaki seemed to be more focused on moto there for a long time, and to see them come back this year, you know, you can only assume it's going to have a positive impact on their sales numbers, and you know, they're loyal fans. So it's again, Fred Andrews, Joey Maurer, that entire Babbitt's Online Kawasaki team, Monster Energy, they're doing a great job, and you know, they're just trying to establish a foothold here for their company and for their team.
And look for newer and bigger opportunities coming in 2020. I heard some ideas of a brand that is out there that does not have a place in the GNCC per se yet, but should have a pretty good stronghold leading into 2020 next year. Obviously, I'm not at liberty to say who and who with and so forth, but all I got to say is some pretty cool things on the horizon for a few riders as this season I guess wraps up and we get set to look forward to the next season in 2020.
Yeah, you know, and for the fans at home and everyone here at the track and even the casual fans, you know, it's GNCC is kind of an animal all its own. You know, across the nation and across the world, series are kind of struggling to get support from the big companies and to get riders to come out. And here's GNCC, you know, almost, it seems, weekend to weekend, breaking records for attendance, breaking records for rider entries, for spectator attendance, you know, and it's hats off to the entire Racer Productions crew and everyone involved that makes it happen. You know, beating the odds and showing that off-road racing, not only is off-road racing not dead, it's thriving here in GNCC.
It is, and whenever you look at the numbers, if you get a chance to look at the behind-the-scene numbers of sales and things like that right now, off-road motorcycles, specifically Woods-type motorcycles, are really what's selling in the dealerships right now, more so than motocross and even more so than street bikes at this point.
Yeah, you know, and it seems, you know, it's a somewhat economical way to have fun and go out and trail ride with your friends. And next logical, at least in my brain, the next logical step is once you go out and you go trail riding with your friends, you say, hey, this is fun. We're riding through the woods. You know, hey, man, we should see who can go the fastest. You know what? They put on some races for these things where they're going to give us transponder scoring and a nice marked out loop that's going to be super fun to ride. And we're going to get to race against some people and, more importantly, hang out in the pits and tell some stories when the race is over. GNCC racing, man, that's where it's at.
GNCC, obviously that's the pinnacle of the sport, but I mean there's many local series around your area, like we're sanctioned, co-sanctioned this weekend with the new East Coast Cross Country Championship, Ronnie Paul Series, so we got a co-sanction with them. But there's several of those types of series all around local America, wherever you are. It doesn't matter what state you're in.
You know, and we're very fortunate in this tri-state area to have such good local feeder series that riders will kind of cut their teeth in, and you know, they want to excel, they want to kind of get to the next level, and they, you know, what ends up happening is GNCC comes to a town near you, and you go out and you give it a shot, and then you get hooked, and next thing you know, you're taking the kids out of school on Friday, and you're driving, and you're buying an RV, and all these things. But it's a great
next thing you know,
sport.
you're taking them out on Thursday and Friday.
Right.
Next thing you know, you're spending winters in Florida training. And
yeah, tell me about it. You know, for me, this journey started a long time ago with a little Ford Courier pickup truck and an open trailer, going to the races with my dad, and you know, he was just trying to chase a senior B class title back in you know, the late 80s, mid 80s, actually racing the 4-stroke A class way back when against a guy named Scout Summers, who ended up winning a couple GNCC titles many years later.
Yeah,
but,
a few of them anyway.
You know,
right?
that was that's kind of where it all started for me, and now it's big rigs and, you know, traveling and airplanes, and it sure has come a long way. But man, I've enjoyed the heck out of the journey.
I mean, looking back, I mean, you look back to the early 1990s, the mid 1990s, and as big and as great as things seemed then, did you ever expect to see what you're seeing out here today?
You know, I think in the moment, you know, when things are thriving and you're loving it and you're just enjoying the heck out of yourself, and you see everybody around you having fun and all the great racing action and the fine families and fine people you meet, you think it's as big as it could possibly be. And what really puts it in perspective to me, yeah, the rigs are bigger, you know, there's semis here, there's factory teams, which back in the day, factory teams consisted of, you know, they'd send you a sticker and let you put it on your box van that you paid for. Where now, I mean, these companies are investing big into this sport and into this series. But I think to me the biggest difference is when you really go to one of these facilities that we used to race at, like for instance across the street at High Point, and you look at what parking is actually available there. And when I say available, what we actually used for a GNCC. Yes, there's big open fields over there, but we didn't park in those. We parked pretty much basically in the pro pit area, what is now the pro pits, and just the sides of the moto track, and it wasn't even full. You know, and we thought that was as big as it was ever going to get. Yeah. You could not fit pro pits and vendors row as it sits today in many of the facilities that we go, most of the facilities that we go to or went to back in the mid 90s, even early 2000s, it wouldn't fit. Yes, the rigs have gotten bigger for sure, but if you look at the numbers, I mean, the entry numbers are just huge.
Yeah, they are. That is for certain. There's no doubt about that. And you know, as big as GNCC is here in the United States, you know, off-road racing is like that. It seems like worldwide. I mean, we've got worldwide recognition. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that most people, if they're racing off-road, they want to come to the U.S. and they want to race, you know, GNCC, and we kind of set a standard, I think, worldwide. And the great thing about that is it also has produced some other international sister series that we share with Japan. And they've got that series, and you've heard us talk about it a lot, JNCC, the Japanese cross-country series. Well, Yoshi and a few of the guys are over here. We've actually got a couple competitors that came out with us as well that are working with us also. So there's a lot of great things going on, not only locally, not only nationally, but also internationally. And we had a chance to catch up with our Japanese brothers and talk to them a little bit about the JNCC.
I'm from Japan. My name is Takanori Nakajima. This one race only. I will do my best. Thank you. Goodbye.
Of course, not necessarily fluent in English, but fluent in motorcycle racing, that's for sure.
Fluent in fluent in throttle twisting.
There you go.
Seems to be doing a good job of it there.
Yeah, and welcoming our friends from Japan out with us here as we take a look and see where he happens to be. He's racing the XC1 Pro class, I believe, on the 116, if we were looking at that right, as long as I can get service here. There we go.
Yeah, I saw him coming through VP Fuels Pro Row. He was holding his own. He was mixed in with the XC2 riders. But, you know, it's a big adjustment. I mean, we saw, like as you said, I mean, you know, him coming here from Japan as a part of that JNCC foreign exchange student program, or foreign exchange rider, we'll call it. Always giving JNCC giving GNCC the opportunity to send a couple of riders each year. I'm just hoping they start a quad series so I can get to go to Japan. So I'm going to throw actually, you know what, I'll race a bike. Sign me up. They set me up with the Yamaha, I'll race it.
There you go. By the way, Takahori Nakahima, I believe is how you say his name, is our Japanese rider that is here with him. And the rider that we are exchanging with this year will be Andrew DeLong. Andrew's going to be going over, and Jared Bolton and Caleb Bolton are going on over. And they're not only going to be covering the event, but Kerry Joe sent them over for their honeymoon, believe it or not. So they got married this past January and have not had time to do anything but work since Carrie said, guess what? You're going to Japan on us. You're going to go cover a race for a couple days, but the rest of the time it's all you. So congratulations to them, all those that get to go over. And I know Andrew is really pumped up about getting to go.
Absolutely, that's a very cool opportunity. I mean, Japan is, you know, it's such a different culture, and it's very cool to see that such a, you know, densely populated country it still makes time for dirt bikes. And obviously, I mean, so much of many of the manufacturers, basically all except for KTM and Husky, well, I guess Gas as well. But the majority of the manufacturers are based out of Japan, you know, and for them to pick up on what GNCC has done, you know, it is really great the way they've just kind of modeled their GNCC, not just in name, but in the format of the races and how they set up their facilities. You know, they're having great success. They get great turnouts. I see the videos every year when the guys go over and try to follow the results as best I can. And, you know, obviously Takeshi Koikita, a rider that raced over here for many years with us actually made his home in the Hickory, North Carolina area for many years, stayed over here in the States and embraced the American culture. He, I believe, still races that series over there.
You think that he stuck out any down there in North Carolina with that accent?
You know, he probably did, but, you know, let's face it, America, one big melting pot.
It is. I just wonder if he went back to Japan with a southern Japanese accent.
He may have, and when he went back, he was probably looking for a barbecue joint.
Most likely. Hey, I heard you and Mikey talking about this earlier in lap number 1. Here on lap number 2, let's go ahead and actually probably at the end of lap number 1 as we conclude or work on concluding lap number 2. Talk a little bit more about this XC2250 Pro class. Again, we know Ben Kelly's moved up 10 races in a row. You know, I heard Mikey talking about it, and I talked to a few of the guys, and yes, you know, there is a feeling of hope now for some of these riders, you know, to actually win. And the wind that had been knocked out of the sails for some of those guys, knowing that, you know, for whatever reason, they may not try as hard because they think, well, I'm just not going to beat Ben anyway, and not worry about trying to get second because winning is what it's all about. Well, those guys that now feel, you know, have Ben Kelly out of the way, those are the guys that's going to be stepping up and make some moves and make some things happen. And we just saw Jordan Ashburn checking in here at the 9-mile marker, Johnny Gallagher, leading Caleb Russell.
You know, we saw him at VP Fuels Pro Row, and I commented it looked like he was feeling racy. He was shoving a wheel in there when he could. He must have got the pass made because now he's leading the way with Caleb Russell in second and Thad Duvall third, Ricky Russell in fourth. So the top 4 have been through here at the 9-mile marker. We'll be seeing him coming to the finish here in just a couple of minutes.
I'm going to tell you something too, Johnny, on that hole shot out there with Ricky getting the hole shot, and they came out of that second turn, and they were going towards turn 3. I don't know that I've ever in my life seen as many elbows being thrown out there as what I saw. That was some aggressive racing that we saw out of those front 3-4 guys, man. I mean, they were, elbows up. They were making contact.
Man, everybody knows the dust is just going to be treacherous today. Here is your 5th place rider, and that is Trevor Bollinger. He's taken that 5 spot away from Josh Toth. Toth, last we saw, was back in 6th, but he had some company from the 410 machine of Andrew DeLong. Again, a rider. Look at this. DeLong has gotten around, and he's actually made up some time on Bollinger. So Andrew DeLong making a run at the top 5 here early today. That is that's an impressive ride for the big man out of Pennsylvania. Gotta love it. He's putting in some fight. There is Toth, the 206 machine. So he would now be in the 7th place spot. Second race back here from an injury, had the femur injury. There is Lane Michael, the 523 machine, and here is the 530 of Ben Kelly. So he's it's taken him a little bit to kind of get his legs under him.
Yeah, and he's probably just feeling things out. I mean, Ben's another guy that can really find some super quick speed really fast whenever it comes that time. And hey, a lot of things, like you said, this is a whole different atmosphere he's racing on row 1.
It's a different atmosphere, and also we can't take away from the fact he's on a different machine. You know, yes, I know he rides a 350 at other events, and I'm not actually sure if he's on a 350 or a 450. I would just assume it's a 350 based on the fact that, you know, that is what the riders typically pick to ride in GNCC over the 450, the KTM and Husky guys. But it is possible he could be on a 450. Maybe we could get Mikey to confirm that if he stops by down there at the FMF Red Bull KTM team pits. I know he was going down to see if he could get a scoop down at the Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki pits on Jordan Ashburn, who at the time was running in second. Now he's taking over the lead. So that scoop's going to be even a little more perfectly timed. We can talk about Jordan Ashburn possibly grabbing that top spot and what he's going to do to try and maintain it for the next roughly, what do we got? 2 hours and what time do we actually?
About 2 hours and 5 minutes.
2 hours left. Yeah, 54. So we should have about 2 hours left when they check in here at the completion of lap number 2.
Yep, due in, according to timing and scoring, in about just under 4 minutes right now. And again, at the last check, it was Ricky Russell leading Caleb Russell. That was at the number.
Nope, Ricky Russell was in third. It was Jordan Ashburn leading.
Yeah, that's what I meant. It was Jordan Ashburn leading, then Caleb Russell, then Ricky Russell. Thank you, Johnny, for.
No, actually, corrected. Thad Duvall had taken over third. Thad Duvall third, Ricky Russell fourth. So we got it all jumbled up. We'll get it sorted out here for you.
You know, that's
and you guys just keep watching the screen. You'll see who's leading.
And here's the great thing about this, man. What this means is we're seeing a lot of changes taking place here throughout this lap. You know, whenever we can't keep up with it, you know, we see it one way and then in the next shot it's another way. And there's a lot of changes going on. That's good for this race day. That's good for these riders because that means that there's still a lot of avenues open for a lot of big changes and a lot of excitement to happen out here in the next 2 hours.
Yeah, and you were talking about those elbows. We've got so much going on. We're trying to keep up with the pace of what we got going. You were talking about those guys throwing elbows going into the second turn, maybe more so than you've ever seen in your entire career. Well, let me tell you something. Everybody knew coming into today, everybody yesterday, same thing, man. Start is of paramount importance. You got to be up front. You don't want to waste your energy trying to make passes, making those sketchy moves, having to ride in 0 to less than 0 visibility. It's basically like riding in a blindfold. So getting the whole shot just makes your day so much easier. You can save energy. You can set your own pace early, and that's exactly what each and every one of those guys was trying to do. As you said, I think Ricky Russell was credited with the whole shot, but I heard you. I didn't see it. I didn't make it over there, but I heard you announce it, and I just heard, sakes alive, Caleb Russell wedges his way in there and takes the lead away going into the woods. So again, Caleb obviously wanted to be up front. Ricky wanted to be up front. Jordan Ashburn wanted to be up front. All of those 15 guys wanted to be up front.
I don't know that I've ever seen Caleb Russell want to be up front so bad. I mean, and Ricky at the same time. I mean, that was excitement. Look at this. Here comes Jordan Ashburn, though, leading the way on the 127 Monster Energy Babbitt's Kawasaki as he winds down lap number 2 here at the Mason-Dixon GNCC, and only just a few feet away, just outside the shadows of the 127 machine, is the number 1 of Caleb Russell, keeping him in check there. The dust so far not really showing any issues for these guys, at least in this sections and portions of the racetrack. As we wind our way around, Jordan Ashburn has got to be feeling pretty hot right now as far as feeling well and on mark at this 1 hour mark of the race. And of course, Thad Duvall has got to be feeling pretty comfy with himself, able to bridge the gap and catch these guys up front now.
Yeah, absolutely. Ricky Russell not far out of it either, right there within striking distance of a podium position in that 4th place spot. 5th we had last seen was the 739 of Trevor Bollinger on that Rockstar Energy Husqvarna machine. He was a little ways back, so it'll be a little bit until we see him. And I think we actually got our Mikey down with the team of our leader, Jordan Ashburn. Mikey Waynes, you got a report for us?
Yeah, we are down here with Fred Andrews here in the Babbitt's Monster Energy Kawasaki pits. I came down here originally because we were like, wow, Jordan Ashburn, great start. He's right behind Caleb. Well, in the meantime, he's now out in front of Caleb. What's working for him out there, Fred?
Well, I think just getting the start and putting himself in the right position. He's gotten to the front before and fallen down, and, we talked a little bit and just have him do what he does best, get comfortable out there and relax and follow Caleb for a while, and he was following Caleb, so he must be feeling a little bit relaxed, and Babbitt's Monster Energy Kawasaki is working well, and he's good at this fast stuff, so we'll see what happens.
See what happens. That's Fred Andrews. I might add, Fred Andrews also the team manager for Team Ohio that won the Pit Bike National last night. You feel like that carried some momentum into today?
Oh, for sure. We won last night. Corey Steed got on the podium, first time for her. Jordan's going to put it on the box today. It's a great day.
It's a great day here at Babbitt's Monster Energy Kawasaki. Thanks, Fred.
Thanks a lot, Mikey. And definitely good time. Mikey's talking about last night's Pit Bike Challenge. It was 3. They had team managers, and they chose 3 team members, and there was 8 different teams, I think it was, and basically it was the battle of the Mason-Dixon, and Ohio comes out on top. I mean, there were some pretty good teams out there, and I think DQ had a team from Indiana, T-Shep one from North Carolina, so some pretty good times going on that last night. Plus, we had the dog show going on. If you couldn't find anything, there was chapel service, dog show, and this is all going on at the same time, and the pit bike race. If you couldn't find something to do, you just can't be entertained.
Just leading into that was the EPV race.
Yeah.
So, full day of activity. You want to talk about a long day, come to a GNCC on a Saturday. Anybody who works here, talks on the PA system, does anything around here, is working from basically before sunup until well after sundown. But it is a day full of festivities and fun.
And plus, we need to congratulate Hot Rod Charlie Mullins. We didn't even mention the fact that we had round 7 of the EMTB GNCC last night, and Charlie Mullins won and captured the first ever AMA National Championship title in EMTB racing last night, and done it with a quite convincing win over his brother-in-law, John Action Ayers.
Yeah, that's a lot of champions crowned yesterday. I think we were talking 4, or actually 5, I think, premier class championships yesterday. Obviously, XC1, Walker Fowler, WXC, Tracy Pickens, her
12th. I know.
12th.
I know. I got that wrong. I've been getting
No,
that wrong.
no, I wasn't saying that. I'm just stunned by the number.
I know, and some so unbelievable for me. I still say 10-time champion. She
Well,
was 11. Now she's 12.
Once you get to 10, it's just like, hey, you got more than you have fingers. We're gonna have to start counting on toes. Nobody wants to see you take your boots off, so we're just gonna say 10. But yeah, 12 WXC championships for that little lady, and pretty amazing to see what that career has come. Just a little girl from a valley in Shamokin, Pennsylvania, and 12-time GNCC WXC champion. John Glada taking the XC2 title, wrapping that up. He had actually wrapped it up at the last round, but they didn't even realize it. They were so focused on just getting race wins. He wrapped it up at the last round, and they presented him with his #1 plate, and he's planning to move up to that XC1 class here in 2 weeks when we go racing in Beckley, West Virginia. Charlie Hot Rod Mullins, Landon Wolf actually putting the wraps on his championship as well. Chose not to celebrate it because I think his whole family wasn't here. It was a kind of a, just a weekend where everybody can make it, so he'll be receiving his #1 plate at the next race. But mathematically, he did wrap it up and put that championship away. So big things happening yesterday, and I don't know if it's too early to start talking about it, but there's a potentiality that we could see something similar here today.
Is that right? Caleb, is he in line?
I believe that what we would need to see leaving here is he would need to have a 60-point lead on Thad Duvall, and as we're looking right now, he has 52-point lead. So we would essentially, if Caleb Russell finishes 8 points ahead of Thad Duvall today, he could put the wraps on the 2019 XC1 and overall champion, making him, I believe, a 6-time champion, maybe 7. I don't know. We lose track. Yesterday, I was thinking,
is it 7? I think it is 7.
I think he has 6. I think because I remember I made the comment about you can't fit them all on one hand anymore if he wins this, and he said, well, I can't now. So I think he is currently a 6-time champion, and this would make him a 7-time champion. But staggering statistics nonetheless. Getting his 60th win just last race at the New York round, putting the wraps on that. Although it was a close one. Look at this. Here is your leader, the 127. Babbitt's Online, Monster Energy Kawasaki machine, and look at that guy, man. He is just running on adrenaline right now and looks just silky smooth. He's pulling away, Rodney.
Well, Fred said it, man. He said, if he feels comfortable, just ride how you like to ride. And he said he must be feeling comfortable because not only did he fall in behind Caleb and follow him for a little while, but he made the pass. And not only making the pass, but we're seeing it's starting to distance himself just a little bit from Caleb. It's nothing astronomical, but any amount of footage that you can get between yourself and that #1 plate behind you like that, you got to be feeling a little bit stronger with each inch.
Well, yeah, and another thing to take into consideration is lap riders. I mean, they're really just kind of sort of starting out 2 laps complete. You can see they are catching a few here and there, but they're going to start hitting lap riders thicker and thicker. Several hundred riders out here this afternoon on this, even though it is an 11-mile course. They're going to start hitting riders in bunches, and that really factors into just exactly where riders push and try to pull gaps. Here is, this looks to be Trevor Bollinger in that 5th place spot. There he is. Not sure who that was on screen there. That may have been Ashburn. That would be the section he should be in.
Yeah, I think
and here we are in the Monster Mile. Ashburn is through, and there is the Red Bull FMF KTM machine of Caleb Russell in the Monster Mile, working his way through there.
Duvall back there, he was running about 15 seconds. That gap is closing up between second and third right now.
It is. Thad Duvall looks to be a man on a mission. Caleb Russell better get his rear in gear if he doesn't want to drop back to that final podium spot. Running in second place after leading the first lap. Drop back to second, and now he has pressure from behind the 989 Rockstar Racing Husqvarna, Thad Duvall.
Well, Duvall turned a 27:41. That was the fastest lap time there. It was about 9 seconds faster than Caleb Russell at a 27:50. And only about 2 seconds faster than Jordan Ashburn at a 27:43. Right now, I have to think that Jordan Ashburn's on a faster pace than a 27:43, the way he's really starting to stretch things out here.
I believe it, and you got to remember this will be his first full lap of racing with clear vision, no dust in front of him except for lapped riders. So he's going to have spots on the track where he's just going to be able to carry more speed. There is Ben Kelly just now in VP Fuels Pro Row. So Kelly, as we see, 9th overall, currently on corrected time. And actually, as they check in with 2 laps complete, there is Grant Baylor, the 314. Look at the left shoulder there. You can see a lot of dirt there. I believe he's been taking some soil samples and wanting to take some of this Mason-Dixon home with him.
Well, it looks like he's got just that. He's got the stains on there to take home with him for sure. I was watching here. I'm starting to see, I think we're starting to see some things happen in that XC2 class, Johnny. We've got Liam Draper running there in that number 2 spot. Again, you know, I think we blew his horn there a couple of weeks ago talking about, you know, seeing him up here and how fast, how aggressive he's been. But here he is again. This is like the 3rd, 4th race in a row, I think, that we've seen this. I mean, before the summer break, we were seeing some great strides out of him and stuff. But now since the summer break, I mean, whatever happened at last round, he's continuing that momentum. I don't know if it's hunger. I don't know if it's desire. I don't know if it's just his health. He's finally completely 100% healthy, or whether it all just came together.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, but oh, look at this. Josh Toth dropping. Oh, no, is that Ben Kelly? That is Ben Kelly. So Josh Toth may have gotten back around. It was DeLong. So for a minute there, I thought DeLong might have caught up Baylor, or I'm sorry, to Bollinger, but no, it looks like DeLong has dropped back, and Josh Toth is back in to that 6th place spot. And then it looked like Lane Michael was kind of all over the back of Andrew DeLong as well. So DeLong back to 7th now, and has pressure from Lane Michael in that 8th place spot.
Well, as we roll, we'll look at some lap times here. Just to give you an idea while everyone's running. Our top 3 in the 27:43 for Ashburn, 27:50 for Caleb Russell, 27:41 for Thad Duvall. We go to a 28:03 for Ricky Russell, 28:12 for Trevor Bollinger, 28:13 for Andrew DeLong. Josh Toth, a 28:46, 28:24 for Lane Michael. I think right there is telling the tale of a lot of tape of what's going on out here on this racetrack.
Did you see that little huckabuck that Thad got there? He hit something. It looked like the bike went sideways. He was able to save it, didn't lose any time, but it looked like he did not see whatever it was that threw his machine sideways. Hey, he never saw it coming.
Well, you know, I heard somebody say something about that powder sand, that silt and stuff like that. I think, you know, with the earlier today racing, yesterday's ATV racing, some of those rocks, some of those roots might be hidden under some of that fluff and powder and stuff, and that might just be set. But, you know, when you see something like that and you see a rider recover and doesn't even look like it fazed him any, that's a true testament to what his bike setup is like. There's no doubt. I mean, not only his riding style and his riding ability, but just how great the bike is set up.
Yeah, confidence in your machine is key, and, you know, he's obviously riding well. He's been able to work his way up through the pack. We saw him struggle early in the last race, said he just wasn't comfortable with the machine, and then he wasn't really sure if it was kind of the machine came around or more so that he said, I just figured, hey, man, I got to figure out how to ride this thing. So he adapted his style and was able to make it work for him, getting up very nearly catching the leaders there. Oh, look at this.
Stu Baylor
in the pits.
Yeah, looks like he's about ready to have a word with Mikey Waynes. So I was going to have you talk to me about this section. Here comes the 739 now of Bollinger, this FMF PowerPoint. Let's talk a little bit about that again. It looks like a hill climb there.
It is, yeah. They're coming up out of a bottom, which last year was just a gnarly mud hole going the other direction. You came down this hill into it, but it's a deceivingly steep. You know, that almost looks like just a slight grade there. I got to tell you, that hill is very, very steep, and with that powder like that, you can see how it's getting kind of V'd in and rutted there. Man, that's it's going to be a challenge for these guys as that continues to get chewed up more and more, especially with lappers in the mix. Choosing the line at the bottom, there's actually 2 lines at the bottom, then they crisscross over each other. There is DeLong. So wait a minute, no, we have lost Josh Toth.
Yeah.
Josh Toth has not. Oh, there he is. So DeLong back around Toth. These guys are just, man, they're playing musical positions. We saw Lane Michael pressuring, and there is Lane Michael, and there is Ben Kelly. So look at that. We got 4 riders all within about 8 seconds there, battling over that 6, 7, 8, 9 place position.
And that's, you know, I was alluding to the XE2 a few moments ago, and I meant to mention about that. I picked up on that a few minutes ago too, Johnny, with those guys tightening things up out there with Toth, Michael, and Kelly. Hey, we do have Mikey Waynes down with Stu Baylor right now. Let's find out what's going on with that Teely Racing KTM rider.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, down here, Stu Baylor, man, what the heck happened? This is not where we wanted to see you today.
Yeah, you know, I got going and bad start, which didn't help out here, but just knew something wasn't right with the bike first lap. Even coming down pro row, I was shaking my head. It was dog shit slow, and I just couldn't get the thing moving, and it got slower and slower. And there at the end, it just choked down. I think we blew the motor, and you know, as part of it, it's racing. Pretty frustrated, you know, here at the end of the season. You know, it's a bummer. It was one of those days where a lot could happen in a short time. I think once the lappers start playing a role in things and the silt ruts are getting so deep, you know, it's easy to make mistakes, and it's one of the tracks that, you know, I was thinking would really play in my favor. This all I ride's dust, so I was kind of happy to see it. But it is what it is. We'll shake the dust out and get ready for the next one.
All right, shake the dust out. You heard it from Stu right there. Tough break for him, guys.
Well, that's an unfortunate break there for Stu, obviously.
Yeah.
The machine let him down, but a rider that, you know, never seems to have a bad attitude about life. He's enjoying it. If I know, he might be cracking a nice cold Pepsi here and enjoying it.
Maybe a little more adult than that, but nonetheless, Stu Baylor definitely a fans racer, that's for sure. A lot of folks really like Stu Baylor. He carries a big fan base out there, and he's about as real as you're going to find an individual. Some people don't like that, while others really like it. And
he's taking a look inside that air filter. He's like, man, did we suck some dust? Like, what's going on here? Why won't this sucker run? Said they just kept losing power and eventually just could go no more. So an unfortunate turn of events, but he'll enjoy watching the rest of this one, and you know, he'll get geared up, and AG will get that machine fixed up and ready to rip for the Beckley GNCC in just a mere 2 weeks' time.
Yep, the Summit, I think, is what we got that titled as.
Everybody's asking. I don't know. I wasn't sure. So.
Well, it was funny because I was wondering the same thing, and then this guy came up to me today and he said, "It's the Summit, by the way." And I was like, "Hey, that works for me," so we're going to go with that. Well, right now, as we check in with things, Johnny, it's dry, it's dusty, it's getting hotter here in the afternoon as the sun rains down on us. The fans are enjoying an amazing ride. Jordan Ashburn is out front on the ride that dreams are made of, as we like to say, but he's got competition coming in hard and fast with Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall, Ricky Russell, and even Trevor Bollinger back there. Will Jordan Ashburn be able to hang on to this and make the grade and take the win? Stick around to find out. GNCC Live continues right after this.
Bearings shoulder the burden whenever you tow, haul, or stomp the gas. AMSOIL delivers powerful protection for bearings and other critical components so you can drive with confidence. To demonstrate, an independent lab put AMSOIL synthetic motor oil head-to-head against a leading competitor in a 100,000-mile test. AMSOIL provided far superior wear protection and kept engine bearings looking like new. Get your truck the protection it deserves at amsoil.com/auto.
We are American Motorcyclists. We are members of the American Motorcyclist Association. Racers, fans, and crew. We come together for this sport we love, to race together, to grow together. We start young, and not so young. We race motorcycles and ATVs. We become friends, we become family. We compete for weekend bragging rights and national championships. We make memories on the toughest off-road courses in the country and on the best motocross tracks in the world. Some of us aspire to the speed and poise of road racing or the fierce competitiveness of American flat track, and we honor our greatest champions in the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame. Through it all, we cheer, we win, and we lose. We are racing. We are the AMA. Race with us. Be part of the greatest sport in the world. Be an American motorcyclist. Join us today at www.amajoin.com/join-now.
I'm a junior pro surfer from Maui, Hawaii. I actually tried to homeschool in 8th grade and just didn't meet my needs. I came to On Track in 9th grade, and from the beginning I really liked it.
The mission at On Track School is to make academic success completely possible for each and every student while they're out pursuing their personal goals.
Everything is just super easy with On Track. I get to take my computer on the road whenever I need to. It makes it very easy for me to get all my work done.
If you're looking for a program that provides flexibility and a program that you can take anywhere that fits your lifestyle, then On Track is for you. So come check us out at ontrackschool.com and go get it.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. The all-new from the ground up 2019 Yamaha YZ250F is available at LoJack Cycle Sales, alongside the all-new YZ65 and YZ85, and refined YZ450F. So stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
And we're back here, GNCC Racing on Racer TV Live. And I tell you what, a true family affair here at GNCC. This is last night's festivities. We had our E-Pee-wee race. There we see these little guys. That's one of the little Mayhews there. And they are just out there getting it done. We see Trevor Russell with the checkered flag. They're, you know, young little guys out there, and we include all family members, including the furry ones. They're out there, and this is our GNCC Mowgli Memorial Dog Show. We've got a talent competition. There was an obstacle course, and some of these guys are so cute, they just go out and stand, and the crowd cheers for them. Our classes were broke down by size, by age, and here we can see our judge. Oh, look at that. They won't let us see the scores. They don't want to give away who wins, but dressed up in costumes. We're a little ways away from Halloween, but it was doggy Halloween here last night in GNCC land. There we see, looks like a lot of the GNCC faithful brought out their, oh, look, this is actually our Japanese rider is in, and it looks like he's checking out his clutch, and he's getting some fresh goggles, and I bet he's thinking, man, we don't have dust like this in Japan. So it's quite a fight for these guys out here. We're joined in the booth right now with Becca Sheets. Becca, you were out there this morning in the 10 a.m. race. And tell us a little bit about the track and the conditions. We see a lot of the riders are developing gaps in between. And what was it like out there?
It was definitely dusty, I will say that, as we all know. It was quite technical. There was a lot of roots out there, and there was a lot of dust, so you didn't really know what was under that dust a lot of the times. You just kind of had to go for it and take it as it came, and you know, there was a lot of roots that kind of knocked you on your butt a couple times, and it was very similar to last weekend's track, actually, as far as the rooty technicalness, but obviously this time we just had a little more dust to deal with, so it's super hard to see. There's a lot of uphills out there actually that have just developed into just pure silt at the bottoms of them, and you can't even see the riders that are going up those hills.
We saw Stu Baylor. I don't know if you were able to follow along with our live coverage. I know you're out and about, but Stu Baylor actually had his machine retire. It will not run, and they think he may have sucked in. You said the key word there, silt. Silt is not a word that we typically hear in GNCC. People talk about dust, but usually it's just kind of dust kicking up from the dirt. But when you say silt, you know, to the people at home that don't understand, explain just how deep some of that soot, that silt is in the ruts when you're riding through.
It is feet deep, and I mean, if you guys know what protein powder is like, that is what the silt is like out there, and yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Anybody who's ever watched like desert competitions or Baja or things of that nature, they have what are called the silt beds, and they're long, miles-long sections of everything looks smooth on the surface. It almost looks like sand until you go to step in it, and as you said, feet deep. I mean, you can sink to your knee, you can sink to your hip. So imagine that on a dirt bike or an ATV trying to push, and it's like pushing a wave in front of you. You can see the silt moving before you even get to it. It's almost like a dried form of Jello, or as you said, protein. I guess it would be Jello. What is Jello powder? I don't know. What do you make Jello from? Powder, I guess. But it's powdered dust is what it is. It's dirt in its driest form. Crazy because apparently we had a little bit of rain here on Wednesday, but it definitely is not showing in the conditions today. So very dry, very dusty. A lot of undergrowth here, which is we were talking earlier about how the track is kind of broken in half. It's almost like the Pennsylvania side is kind of hard pack and the trails are more established, and then when you cross over into West Virginia, it's like single track and bramble bushes for days.
Yeah, as soon as you go into West Virginia, it is pure silt. That's just train track ruts from the quads on Saturday. I'm sure the bike lines are more burnt in now, but it's just that fresh soil that we're riding that has never been raced on before, and so there's nothing packed down underneath. It's just all fresh virgin soil, and I think that's why it's so bad out there.
And that is really the kind of the complication of GNCC racing here. Obviously, when you pick a facility, you have no idea what Mother Nature is going to deal you in terms of weather coming in. There we see our leader, Jordan Ashburn, out front, the 127 machine. Caleb Russell now in chase, and he has got him in his sights. And Thad Duvall, the 989 Rockstar Racing Husqvarna, all those guys within 2 to 3 seconds of each other. They can all see each other, and you can see them thick in lappers. There's, 4 or 5 lappers that they're battling between, and pretty hectic. It's almost like rush hour traffic there, and these guys at the 9-mile marker, which means we'll be seeing them coming in towards the finish. What is it like out there with the routes? I know yesterday, obviously there's been several races in between then and now. You just came off the track. How rough is this track getting, especially over on that West Virginia side?
I mean, this section that we're looking at right here is actually, it's like the best dirt on the track. You have those little tacky ruts coming through, and then boom, right where Ricky goes in, it's just back to the silt, and there's actually some really gnarly routes through that whole section. But over on the West Virginia side, it's not really like bumpy rough for like, acceleration and stuff. It's just we just keep digging up more and more bigger and bigger routes. So I can't imagine what it's like out there for the afternoon race right now. The PA side isn't too bad. It's really like we said, just more hard packed in, and so it didn't really get too bad at all. It was just kind of like our break session. We just pin it and drop the hammer and try to get through the pack.
You mentioned, we were talking earlier when we were watching, we saw Thad Duvall nearly go down on the FMF PowerPoint. We saw him lean back, just grabbing a handful. There is Trevor Bollinger, the 739 machine, Duvall's teammate. But we saw Duvall coming through at the FMF PowerPoint. He was climbing up a hill. He was leaned back. It looked like he had no weight on the front tire, and all of a sudden, I mean, it looked as though he was just riding on smooth ground, but that silt was kind of moving. All of a sudden, bike completely sideways, nearly shot off the track, and it was almost, his reaction was like, he had no idea what he hit, and then Ricky Russell, same thing. There's something under the silt there. So, surely for next lap, they'll try to remember that. But, it's got to be just mentally exhausting. I can't speak to that. Obviously, being on a four-wheeler, we have stuff that jars our handlebars. You got to kind of watch your wrists to try and keep hanging on in that silt. But as the weekend goes on, we're getting no rain, no moisture. It just keeps getting deeper and deeper. And the bikes, you guys kind of dig those V's so much deeper. You get down to more roots and more rocks and more debris. What's it like riding when you literally, even if it's not dusty, if you're leading the way with all that silt, you can't actually see the surface that your tires are contacting?
Yeah, during my race, the FMF PowerPoint is exactly where I crashed, and I'd take that line laps before with no problem. Like, I knew it was rough, but a new route must have just come up, and I had no way of seeing it, and I just bonsaied into a tree. So it's hard, and yeah, it is mentally exhausting, and it's just mentally exhausting to try to see through dust. Even when you're not in a battle and you're just trying to pass lappers, you're just trying to like have X-ray vision basically on a lot of the track, and yeah, it's just very tough conditions today. Sometimes we like the dry hard pack conditions, but this one is a monster of its own. There's not really much good about the dirt.
Well, you may have an opportunity if you stick around long enough, or if you tune into Racer TV as you're out and about the rest of the day, or even go back and watch it. You can see on, I guess it would have been on lap 3, as those guys were climbing the FMF PowerPoint section. You can see both for sure Duval and Ricky Russell completely nearly lose control of their machines. They're able to save it because they were, just kind of riding loose enough, but it looked like it was a very near miss for both of those guys, and may end up being the very same section, which gave you some troubles earlier today. So something under the dirt there lurks, and a monster is a perfect word for it, as you said.
Yes.
You got the Mason-Dixon monster trying to grab at the wheels as these guys are pushing their way through the silt. And crazy to see, we're talking about all the silt, and here we are with these mud ruts. There are a few sections where the water is pooled. Again, we did have, according to some, up to several hours of rain on Thursday, but you would absolutely not know it by the majority of this track. It's just, there's a few sections that are holding moisture and have some good base to them, but a lot of it is just very silty. Hats off to the GNCC crew. They probably are not going to get a lot of compliments on this track this weekend for sure, but obviously trying to make the best of the situation of what they have to work with, and trying to find all the moisture that they can down deep in the ground. I tell you, we did just see a battle come by on screen there, the XC1 battle between Josh Toth and Ben Kelly, former XC2 title combatants last year, now battling for the first time together against each other in XC1. Toth, with a phenomenal start, was up in that 4th place spot early, has kind of been fading back steadily throughout the last 2 laps, lap and a half, and now Ben Kelly has caught him, and those two are engaged. So that, I believe, is the battle over, let's see, those guys would be back in the 9th and 10th place position, so just inside the top 10 there. There we see some of the KTM and Husky team mechanics and team managers waiting on their riders. It looks like they might be at the finish line there, and that's where we should be seeing our riders next from our very cool Yamaha live drone footage. They are able to kind of get up there, get a bird's eye view of exactly what's happening and all the action. And there is the leader, the 127 Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki of Jordan Ashburn leading. This will be the 2nd lap that he has led, leading at the end of lap number 3. This will be. And as they check in, we'll see what is the gap back to that man right there. The Red Bull FMF KTM of Caleb Russell, 6-time series champion, working on trying today to put the wraps on title number 7, but not going to be able to do it in the current way things run. Thad Duvall only 4 points behind him as they run in that 3rd place spot. He would need an 8-point gap to wrap it up today based on my math. So we won't go off mine. We'll check with Jeremy Holbert and see as the race comes to a close if we're in a position for that to happen. There is the 4th place rider, the 212 Ampro Yamaha of Ricky Russell. Last race, 2nd place finish for him, battling Caleb Russell literally down to within inches of the finish line. Ricky still within striking distance, running in that 4th place spot and looking smooth again on that Yamaha machine. And you can see, Becca, one other thing that I was going to point out, and last lap, so much was going on we didn't get to talk about it. If you watch Caleb Russell, he's running different lines than everybody else, even in the chicanes and the fields. Most of the other top riders that are trying to carry their speed are going out to the berm, and they're blowing those berms up. Caleb Russell seems to be checking up early, getting inside, and you would think it's for trying to get smooth ground, but in reality, is it a possibility that he's trying to save that air filter?
Yeah, I'm sure he is trying to save the air filter a little bit, but also all these field sections are so wide, and there's not really much of a limit to the width of some of these sections. And I was actually talking about this earlier, and to go so wide down into those berms, like, you are just taking up way more track. You're just traveling so much more than you need to. So Caleb's pretty smart for doing that right now, going the inside, saving the air filter, and taking the shortest line around the track.
There is the 127 machine of Jordan Ashburn, that Babbitt's Racing Online Monster Energy Kawasaki machine, working his way through. Our Yamaha live drone following him. It won't be able to follow him into the woods, unfortunately. We got a great shot of him going across that back section of pits. Here is Andrew DeLong on the Phoenix Racing Honda. A real renaissance of a ride for him, coming back, charging. We thought he had maybe fallen back a ways, but he was able to get back around Josh Toth, and he is putting in a charge. We had seen he had started to make up ground on Trevor Bollinger. Not the case this lap. He has given up probably over a minute, but he has pulled away from that battle of Lane Michael, and then Josh Toth has now fallen back into the clutches of Ben Kelly. There is Ricky Russell on screen, a little farther along in the track, out in the dusty stretches after the finish line, and you can see there is, look at that. And that's where I'm kind of looking at that and thinking, man, I don't know if these guys are planning on stopping for a filter change, but the way some of these guys are blowing up these dust berms, I just can't see these filters lasting 3 hours.
They're just sending it, man.
Well, sometimes you just got to go for it. Lane Michael sending it early in our last round. He led much of the early goings of the New York GNCC, the Black Sky, just 2 weeks ago, coming back from a long recovery from injury, actually a road bike accident, causing him to break a collarbone, and then bending a plate within that broken collarbone, forcing him to sit out even more races after he had initially returned to racing, and laying up solidly in the top 10 right now. There is Trevor Bollinger. He is kind of riding all alone in that 5th place spot, not too far behind Ricky Russell, but he's not within striking distance in the moment, but he has a pretty comfortable gap over the 410 Phoenix Racing Honda of Andrew DeLong. As they check in, we're going to see that 7, 8, 9, and 10 positions change. I think Grant Baylor, has actually gotten around all those guys, and he's going to be the next rider we see check in what should be the 7th place spot. The 314 machine on the move. Not abnormal to see, but we did see Grant Baylor have a torn jersey sleeve. Those guys like to lean into trees, and the joke many years ago was that they don't go around trees, they go through them.
Yeah, those guys always have ripped up jerseys.
We're getting word from our producer, Adam Gordon. I don't know if you heard that or not, Rodney, but they're saying Grant Baylor also having issues. He is not going to be coming through in that 8th place spot.
Wow, that's a heartbreaker for sure for Grant especially, and always pointing it out. But we talk about this. I don't know. It seems like so many times we've made that comment. There's a torn jersey, the right shroud's ripped off his bike, this, that, crazy things like that. And every time seems like we say something like that, that's when we start to notice the Baylor boys start to move up through the pack, and that's with missing parts and missing jerseys and holes. It's almost like whenever they get banged up, it just inspires them.
You know what they say, don't poke the bear. and both, what do you call him? Grizzly
Grant, yeah.
Grizzly Grant, don't poke the grizzly bear, because when you poke him, whether it's with a stick or a large rock that he smashes his head off of, it seems like he goes faster. It makes him angry, and the Baylors ride very well when they're angry. Unfortunately, sounds like he may be having issues. Well, we'll see if we can get an update from Mikey Waynes and find out if that is a machine issue or a rider issue, and if he is going to be able to rejoin the race. But checking in all the way back to that 9th place spot, so it is Andrew DeLong in 6th. Ben Kelly has moved his way up to 7th. He has gotten around Josh Toth. He's gotten around Lane Michael, and he's up into that 7th place spot. Becca, thanks for the insight on the track out there today, and we'll let you go get packed up. I'm sure you're going to be heading back to Ohio here soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Rodney Tomlin jumps back in here. So again, as we have now our top 9 riders checked in, we do not have our 10th place rider checked in just yet. Trying to get scoring to refresh here. We are still just at our top 9, so a big gap back after Lane Michael. The top 9 as they run: Jordan Ashburn, Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall, Ricky Russell, Trevor Bollinger, Andrew DeLong, Ben Kelly, and Josh Toth are your top 8. Lane Michael rounding out the top 9, and we're still waiting on number 10.
That's right.
Hey guys, if I could jump in there real quick, I think everybody in the pits is kind of playing it safe and being prepared. Seeing a lot of pit crews with air filters out. This may be a lengthy little pit stop for some of our riders out here. Specifically, the one I'm thinking right now is Grant Baylor. His crew seems like they're locked and ready for that if that situation presents itself.
All right, thanks a lot, Mikey. And wow, in and out of the pits goes Jordan Ashburn, still out front. I mean, that was almost like NASCAR-style pitting. They came in. There was 4 guys around Jordan Ashburn making sure that everything was a go for him. And he gets fresh goggles, he gets some gas and some fresh water, and bam, he is back on it.
I think he's on a ride. What kind of ride would you say it is, Rodney?
Yeah, I think he's on the ride that dreams are made of.
I'm telling you, this is reminiscent of that 2013 performance when he was riding for NFAB and Pro Yamaha. He was out front. He pulled a massive lead. I mean, we'd have to go back and look at lap times, but I think he had like a minute or a minute and a half lead. He was all but gone and had a rear wheel / rear tire issue. I don't remember all the details. Maybe he can fill us in from the center of the box if he wins this one today and let us know just how that played out. But a phenomenal ride so far for that man, Jordan Ashburn. And you got to kind of feel for Jordan. It was a tough start to the season for him. He had the speed. He would run up front early, and it seemed like silly things happening. We've talked about it many times, but he broke the oil cover on a Rock 1 race, was running up front, had some other issues, had a couple crashes, and then I think maybe the heartbreaker of all heartbreakers was finishing 4th at that high voltage GNCC after a race-long battle with his teammate, Josh Strang. and so many other riders that were involved in that podium battle. Thad Duvall was gone, checked out on that one, but there was like a 37-rider battle over 2nd, 3rd, 4th through 37th. And Jordan Ashburn coming out just on the losing end of that with his teammate, finishing 4th, just off the podium. And when you work so hard for so long, you want to bring your new employer, these people that are working so hard, his mechanic Joey Maurer, team manager Fred Andrews, these guys are working day and night to make this program successful. All he wants to do is give them the best that he can. Man, is he doing it today.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Those guys really culminating everything and bringing it all together. And we've seen this happening. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's been coming and inching its way. And that's, I think we've recognized that in a few different programs here this year. One in particular, Andrew DeLong's program, which we talked about, and obviously talking about the Kawasaki. And both of these guys, both of these teams are 2 brand new teams, basically, to GNCC Racing. So it's pretty interesting that riders that needed that kind of support were able to get it. I mean, it's almost a blessing that things worked out the way it did for these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's when they have that opportunity, some of these guys will just dig so deep to make the most of it. And it's true. I mean, sometimes really all you need in life is somebody to believe in you more than you believe in yourself, especially in athletics and sports. You know, it's as I get older and, you know, have more experience and learn as I go, you know, the mental side of this game is so important. You know, we always, Rodney, we talk endless amounts of time on Racer TV and pit bench racing about, you know, who's training, suspension testing, you know, tire compounds. You know, on the ATV side, I mean, it goes so in depth, you know, steering stabilizer, chassis setup, bike side, I'm sure as well. But I mean, there's so much physical adjustments that can be made to both rider and machine. You know, again, I mean, we talk about the absolute finest of upper echelon training programs, guys like Caleb Russell training with Alden Baker, a world-renowned trainer. There is Andrew DeLong, one of the riders we're talking about. Oh, but look at this. He has got company from the 530 of Ben Kelly, hot on his heels. So Kelly in hot pursuit. Looks like he is pulled well away from his former championship combatant and also teammate Josh Toth. He has lost quite a bit of time there. Kelly now up battling with DeLong over that 6th place spot. But back to that, the mental side of it is so difficult, and that's where a guy like, you know, Caleb Russell is just an enigma wrapped in a riddle. You know, he seems to be just kind of, oh, Lane Michael has gotten around Josh Toth, so Lane Michael now up into that 8th place spot. A solid ride for him. Oh, look at that. There's that same section, Rodney. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Jordan Ashburn clipping something on the FMF PowerPoint, nearly losing control, and his handlebar, I believe, bounced off of that tree on the right-hand side. Here's Thad Duvall.
Wow.
Wheelie tapping over that section.
Now, I hadn't seen, it's been a few minutes since I've seen these guys literally on the track, but did you see how tight those front 3 were coming through? Ashburn, Russell, and Duvall. According to timing and scoring, when they came through, it was 7.6 between 1st and 2nd, and almost 10 seconds back to the 3rd place position. But I have to think it's getting tighter.
You know, Rodney, that last shot, that told the story right there. That's how great Racer TV is. The riders crews in the pits watching the feed just so they can see what their riders doing out there. We're getting the shots. Here is Ricky Russell again through that very, very tough FMF PowerPoint section, making a pass on a lapper and in pursuit of that very close top 3 pack. Jordan Ashburn, Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall, and now Ricky Russell in the 4th place spot. You know Ricky after that ride he had just 2 weeks ago. Tyler Shepardson passing by, one of our captains, I believe you said, for last night's pit bike racing. Yep. He went out and raced this 10 a.m. race, and a true motorcycle enthusiast. He travels to all these races, comes out, races the morning, does some filming, and was one of our pit bike captains. So a great fun event last night. But you know, Ricky Russell, I'm not, you know, not being negative about this, but he is not going to be a happy guy if he ends up finishing 4th today after nearly winning. Look at that, Trevor Bollinger, same thing. Bars ripped out of his hands, almost bounces off the tree. That is a sketchy section on that.
And it goes. I go back and I allude to the fact that silt is what is causing that. It's hiding a lot of that. And Johnny, I mean, watching that shot and several of these shots, we talk about the dust that we're seeing out there, you know, talking about how dry the track is, and we do see a little dust kicked up, but in the grand scheme of things, when you look at this, it's not bad dusty. I mean, it's dusty, but I mean, you can see it's not big plumes of dust but that silty dust, man, that's the kind of dirt that can end a racer's day. I think that's what we see out of Stu Baylor, and likely what we're seeing out of Grant Baylor as we saw his bike in the pits there just a moment ago.
Evan Smith, one of our top riders in that XC2 Pro-Am class, if we can get an update there. He may have worked his way into a podium position. He's been up there near near a podium position, there is Andrew DeLong. Tell you what, Evan Smith might be your leader in that XC2 Pro-Am class. DeLong, hot on his heels, the 530 XC1 rookie today. His very first ever XC1 race, Ben Kelly charging, and he is now up to the rear wheels of Andrew DeLong on that 410 Phoenix Racing Husqvarna, battling over that 6th place spot. But again, you were talking about a word that keeps coming up, Rodney. Silt. How many times have you said the word silt today comparative to how many times have you had in your career? I can't ever remember talking about silt on a track. I mean, I'm not saying never, but maybe.
Rarely. It's usually those mid-summers, those late spring, early summer races, like when we have over at during the time when we had that like a high voltage. We've been in say John Penton GNCC. I remember there was a lot of silt there too. I mean, and it's been years since I talked about the silt.
But even still, like the John Penton, it has a hard base to it. It definitely does get dusty, and you could say in a few sections. I'm talking 10 corners on the whole track. You would have what would be considered silt.
Right.
What we're looking at today is, Rodney, I mean, you'd have to go out. Well, nearly. If you would actually go out there and look at the receipt. Now, is this Grant Baylor in the pits?
Yep.
Nope, that's still Stu's machine they're working on there, isn't it? Or is that a 3? Hard to tell. Is that a 3 or a 5 on that side?
Well, I know. I just saw a shot a few moments ago. They were putting Grant's bike up on the stand. So I think, and I'd say that's probably what we're looking at right now. That's Stu standing by, though. No, that is the 541. That's Dylan Ely's
that's
bike.
Dylan Ely's bike. So I don't know that bike behind it that they're working on with the filter.
Interesting, though. I mean, here's 3 bikes in the Thiele Energy Racing pits. All 3 of them in on a dry, dusty day like
that
this.
is the 314 machine. They're giving us a shot of the front number plate, asking you shall receive Grant Baylor out of this one. So you have to wonder. Now here's just theory and conjecture, Rodney. Theory and conjecture. Build the hype. What is it about these 2 machines specifically that they are the only 2 to fail thus far? Do you think it's something? Is it a product they run, a way they and not pointing a finger by any means, but
I'm gonna go into this, and I know where you're leading, and I think everybody else does too. Here's my analogy. Here's what my theory on this is we talk about these guys are very aggressive riders, especially toward the middle to the end of the race, and that's where we are kind of leaning. When we saw Stu last before the bike broke down, he was making some gains. He was pushing. He was coming up through the pack, which, in my opinion, and I've seen it in years past. I remember Rodney Smith doing it specifically at John Penton GNCC many years ago. But basically, those powder berms, those silt berms that we're talking about, not only are they in the middle of the track and in those ruts, but they also start building berms. And I know with the speed and the aggression that the Baylor boys like to ride with, they're probably pushing the outsides of the tracks and pushing out a little farther, and they're likely getting into some of that silt. And when they do that, as fine as it is, it goes into the bike a little bit easier, and it causes a lot more problems a lot quicker. And I think that, in my opinion, in my theory, it goes to the way they're riding, to be honest with you.
And that's certainly a possibility. And again, be clear, definitely wasn't pointing a finger at in terms of anything being done wrong, but obviously there's so many variables. Everything
exactly.
From
they're not doing anything wrong. It's just the nature of the beast.
Everything from the way the machines are prepped to the that particular team's choice of air filter oil to do they run a pre-filter, don't they? Again, like you said, I mean, there's certain ways that some teams and some mechanics will prep their airbox differently. They'll put foam actually on the outside of the airbox to try and stop some of the dust before it even gets to the filter. So a lot of things going on there, and just ironic that both of the Baylor boys, but like you said, aggressive riders, they ride on the rear of the machine, and they absolutely just blow up those berms.
Stop the presses.
All right, let's hear it.
We got an update coming in from this XC3 FMF 125 class, and we've got a new leader. Chase Colville riding on the Low Jacks Cycle Sales Yamaha out of West Sunbury, Pennsylvania. Out front now and ahead of the 862 of Jake Froman, who's out of Linville, Indiana on his Husqvarna. A 45-second lead, basically, Colville now has over Jake Froman. Jesse Ansley has not checked in for lap number 3, according to timing and scoring at this particular point, and that's another opportunity for Mikey Waynes to stop down and talk to some of those KTM guys to find out what's going on with Jesse Ansley right now. But I do know that right now Chase Colville from that Low Jacks team out front, and Jake Froman in second. So here we go. So what is going on with Jesse Ansley? And that we wait with bated breath to find out. And I'm sure And Mikey Waynes has got his finger on the pulse of it all right now as we roll through this fourth lap of racing. 3 laps of racing are complete, and we're working on lap number 4. Our leaders due in shortly, and this will give us again an opportunity to start to assess this. You know, at last check, and you know, when they came through the scoring barrels, we were seeing 7 seconds between first and second, 9, nearly 10 seconds between second and third. I have to think that maybe Ashford might be starting to stretch things out, or at least it seemed like he might have been there at one point. But at the same time, Duval was closing that gap up, and that might have been what was the tricky thing there visually, was that Duval seemed to be closing up that gap, which made the gap between first and second seem a little larger.
Well, you know, we've seen it seems to be a little bit of a yin-yang in, or sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? The thing you throw it out, yo-yo, that's it, yin-yang, yo-yo effect. It seems like they're kind of dropping back, catching up, and I think that is exactly like you explained with the dust, the lappers, a lot of variables there. But it definitely had spread out, and then we saw them at the 9, and they had closed back up. Then it seemed like at the finish they'd spread back out just a little bit, and then when we saw them at the FMF Power Point, they were virtually wheel-to-wheel. So it's there's a lot of things going on out there, and I tell you what, the thing we got to stress to you folks at home, and even those of you here watching, you know, if you have the opportunity to get out in the woods, we have a phenomenal amount of camera shots today, which is giving us great coverage of this race. We've got our Yamaha Live drone out there, but you know, it really is cool how much goes on when these guys come in. And Rodney, you've spoken to this so many times, when they're on the podium and they start telling, you know, I was leading, and then I was 4th, and then I was leading again, and well, wait a minute, we thought you led the whole race. Oh no, I was back and forth for a while. We passed each other 7 times one lap.
Right.
So there's so much that goes on. And it's always good to get these guys' perspective after the race.
Well, we checked in with the XC3 class just a moment ago, and it seems like there's a big shakeup, and Mikey Wayne's got his thumb on the pulse of it. What's going on, Mikey?
Hey guys, talk with the Ansley pit crew, and I said, what's going on with Jesse Ansley? They said, you guys know as much as we do, but from the sounds of things, sounds like it's a clogged air filter, which has been the topic of the day, and they've got the crew out there trying to track him down, but it sounds like they just keep missing him. So it sounds like he's still moving out there, but obviously not at that pace he was, trying to figure out what exactly is going on. And as soon as I know something else, I'll update you guys again.
All right, sounds good. And there goes, and that kind of makes sense. Jesse's another one of those riders aggressively riding, and when you're on a 125 and you're ringing it out and riding it to the limits that he does, he puts himself in the same dangers as I was speaking of Grant and Stu there a few moments. Again, that's just speculation in my opinion, and what I think may be going on there. But that could be exactly what we're seeing with Jesse today too.
Absolutely, no question. You know, and those little quarter-liter machines, they absolutely need a lot of air to run, and you know they're pouring the fuel to them to try and make some power out of those tiny little engines. And on a day like today, for whatever reason, it seems the 2-strokes just really consume more air. I don't know if it's the fact that it fires on every revolution or every upstroke rather than every other. You know, I'm sure somebody a little more knowledgeable than myself could get into all the fluid dynamics and all of the mechanics of what makes it all tick, but the 2-strokes seem to suffer worse in the dusty conditions, air filter wise, and Jesse Ansley obviously on that little 125 KTM seems he may be held back by a very clogged air filter. We'll see when he checks in, if he does check in with 3 laps complete, if he's able to close that gap up in the waning moments of this one now with only about an hour and 15 minutes left.
Well, he has checked in, and according to timing and scoring right now, Jesse Ansley is 6 minutes and 18 seconds behind second place.
Wow, it's a big gap to make up, that's for sure.
So it's Chase Colville with a 45-second lead over Jake Froman. Jesse Ansley behind Jake Froman, like we said, 6 minutes and 18 seconds, and then there should be a couple-minute buffer back to Jason Lipscomb, but at the same time, he may have made some gains on Jesse during that lap of racing also. So changes, they are certainly taking place here on this day at the Mason-Dixon GNCC, and very interesting. And again, conditions, I believe, are playing a huge monumental role in exactly what's taking place. And you know, you have to wonder, is it going to start to affect other riders as the race wears on? Just because we've only got a handful of them doesn't mean that it won't happen to others, because we know as we get into the latter hour, the last hour of this race, it does seem to get a little more aggressive for those guys, especially if there's a good tight battle like what we're going on up here. this could be another factor we can throw into this one today, Johnny. And again, it might not be anybody's fault, might not even be the rider's fault. It's just the fact that they're pushing so hard that things like that might happen.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and Mikey Wayne's given us that report, and we've heard from a number of people that, you know, a lot of these teams, a lot of the teams on Pro Row there are prepping air filters. They've got them ready for the fuel stops. They're probably going to check in with the riders and say, you know, how's the bike running? Is it seem to be missing it all? If it is, move over. We're going to change that air filter. Some of these machines have a little bit of an advantage as far as what it takes to change an air filter. Some of the machines you actually have to, I believe, and I could be wrong, we could maybe get Mikey to check on this, but I know Jordan Ashburn, when they were watching here, we didn't see the full pit stop, but I believe Becca Sheets was watching up there. She said he did not change an air filter, and we didn't actually get the factory FMF KTM or Thad Duvall's pit stop on screen, so we don't know if they did or did not change a filter, but what we do know is the KTM machines, you can just remove the side panel. You saw Stu Baylor's machine. You don't have to remove the seat. There's no wrenches required. It literally is just, it pops in on some push pins. You pop it out. You pop. Oh, do we have a new leader? Did Caleb Russell get back around Jordan Ashburn, or did Ashburn come through?
Nope.
Okay, Ashburn still leading the way. Caleb Russell second. Thad Duvall third. And there are your top three. Still just as close as we had last seen them. But that could actually factor in here. If these guys do have to make air filter changes, does Jordan Ashburn have to remove his seat to do so? And I think we're getting an update on another of the Baylor boys there. We'll see just what happened to his machine. Mikey in the pits with Grant Baylor.
Thanks, Johnny. Yeah, so Grant, not exactly where we wanted to see you today either. You guys been in here looking over the bikes, man. What's going on?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm about over this, but you know, I don't know. I struggled a little bit there the first lap with a really bad start, getting through the dust and stuff, and then there on that second lap, I was coming through the pack, and I made up a lot of time and caught up to those guys and was making some moves. But as soon as I started to make some moves on Lane and them guys, the bike just quit going on me. So here we are.
Here we are. So a bad day for both of the Baylor brothers out of this one, guys.
All righty, thanks a lot, Grizzly Grant. Tough break for him, and looks like straight from Woodstock, actually, on a day like today. He kind of put me in mind of Jim Morrison right there.
Well, he was still cleaner than most of the people at Woodstock.
That's true, that's true. Even with sweating and going through the mud and dust that he has today. So a tough break there for Grant Baylor, and you know, it's kind of a pinnacle, I think, not necessarily, but it's pretty big at this particular point for Grant to have this kind of a ride. And you say, well, what's so bad about it? And I'll tell you, because Grant is just kind of like on the cusp outside the top 10 of points. And we know, you know what it's like, Johnny, in order to be worth anything and to have your worth on Pro Row, you got to have a top 10 number. And if you don't have a top 10 number, then all of a sudden your worth starts to drop. Not that your talents, not that your skills, any of that stuff really is any less. It's just that, you know, that top 10 number signifies a lot, means a lot to a lot of sponsors and things. So right now, Grant, you know, in a position to really do great things for his team over there, but at the same time, on days like today, it kind of takes away from him and the team heading into the 2020 season.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like you said, the top 10 is definitely kind of the, I guess, the cutoff point a lot of times for support, the top level support. You get a little bit of, you know, featured in things some more and just kind of a little bit more notoriety. Grant, obviously, a bit of a different, little bit of a different situation for him, missing several rounds at the beginning of the year with an injury. He had that shoulder surgery. But like you said, I mean, still at the end of the day, you know, there's no asterisk when they put out the points totals and give out the numbers for the year. It's not, well, hey, you know, if you only count the 7 races that I ran, I would have finished 4th. You know, It doesn't work that way.
No,
so
it don't.
he's gonna dig these next 2 races, try and get up there and secure his spot in the top 10.
Well, the question asked of whether or not Jordan Ashburn was going to change an air filter when he came through in the next pit stop or the next time around. Well, what we're looking at right there is a brand new air filter in a twin air bag waiting on Jordan Ashburn to come in for a pit stop. So it's looking like they are going to take that risk and that gamble, which is probably a good one to take at this juncture in the race, especially with the way things are. Good heart. I think Fred Andrews knows as well as anybody what this last hour is going to entail.
I'm actually going to disagree with you here, Rodney. I don't think they're going to stop and change that. I think if they were going to do it, because I believe Jordan Ashburn is on a one-stop strategy for today. So if they were going to change it, they would have done it when he was if they were planning for sure to change it. They likely would have done it when he was in for that fuel stop. Maybe it's laying there as a precaution, just in case. But then again, maybe they thought, you know what, hey, we don't want to overcomplicate it this lap. We just want to get the fuel in. We want to do goggles. We want to get him some water. And maybe they want to give him a heads up and say, hey, just so you know, we're going to stop you in a couple laps. Throw a filter in this thing, so be prepared. We're going to have everything ready. So Jordan knows coming in, because that's not something, unless it was talked about before the race or unless they give a pit board. Obviously, there's no two-way communication between rider and teams here other than pit boards and signaling. You know, you can stop and talk to someone, but at race pace, it's kind of hard to get a message across. So they may have asked him how the bike was running. He might have said, you know, hey, it's starting to choke a little, and that might have been when they prepped that filter and got ready to go. So we'll wait and we'll see.
Yep. Time will tell, that's for sure. We'll know when they come around here in a few moments. Jordan Ashburn, Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall due in at the finish line right now. Actually, as we look at timing and scoring, says about 30 seconds. We're watching, I think, out here near the 9-mile marker back in the pro pits now, and we are waiting patiently, as I like to say, to find out what's going to happen.
I'll tell you what, the man on the screen right now, 127, Jordan Ashburn. We saw the pit board. Fred Andrews, I believe that was him holding it. May have been mechanic Joe Maurer. One of the Babbitts online. Monster Energy Kawasaki mechanics, team members holding a pit board that said, you can 2 laps. And the you can was real big. Sometimes these guys, elite athletes, they just need that little bit reassurance. You know, maybe Jordan Ashburn questioning himself right now. It's been a long time since he's led laps like this. This is now 3 laps in a row that he has completed as they complete lap number 4. 2 laps to go means this is going to be a 6-lap race. Rodney, Caleb Russell in second, Thad Duvall in third. Each of those guys getting that 2-lap board. And I'll tell you what, on a day like today, no matter how good a shape you're in, those guys are welcoming that 2-lap board.
Well, this will be very interesting for sure as we roll through this one. As Jordan Ashburn, it's been a while since he's been in this position, but you know, in talking with him today, I have to think he does have the confidence. He's got, I think, what it would take to make that push and hang on to that lead position. The one thing that we got to take into account is the conditioning level at which both Thad Duvall and Caleb Russell come into this race. And I'm not taking anything away from Jordan Ashburn's, but as he said even this morning, his conditioning level a little bit off pace due to some injury and different things like that. He has behind the 8 ball on the in that department. But I guess this last hour is where we're going to find out. And you know, as much as anything, you know, heart has a lot to do with it. And you know, physical conditioning, yes, but sometimes pure heart can win out a lot and overcome a lot of obstacles out there. So we'll see if with conditioning and heart, if Ashburn can pull this out.
Not only heart, and I mean, surely Jordan Ashburn, a top-level rider for many, many years now, has tons of heart. Obviously, his conditioning is still far better than even many, many top-level racers. Maybe he's not in the same realm of preparedness as, say, Caleb Russell or Jordan Ashburn, but at the same time, you know, you have to look at Jordan Ashburn is hungry, man. I mean, this is a guy that wants so badly to pay his team, to pay all these people that have entrusted him with the opportunity to represent their brand, you know, to give him another chance to prove that he is one of the elite off-road motorcycle pilots in the world.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but see what that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. See how those riders are riding along, and you see them, they're out in the middle of the track, and then you see kind of ventured off to the edge of the track where that silt was, we've seen the dust plumes start to pop up. That's what I'm talking about, and those are the situations when they put themselves at risk and in danger.
And that's what I've been noting pretty much this whole race is Caleb Russell, specifically in the finish line turns, he's willing to give up time and give up bike lengths. He checks up, he tiptoes around the inside of the hay bale, he squares it up, and he takes a straight shot to the next corner. A lot of these guys, you know, obviously the fastest way to ride. You can see Ricky Russell starting up. He's in the berm there, but you see he intentionally squares that off to stay out of the berm. I'll tell you what, Rodney, I'm going to go out on a limb based just on some nonverbal communication I saw from Ricky Russell and his mechanic, Lucas Statham. I believe they're going to change an air filter. He had something written on the pit board. We could only see the back of it. Ricky looked at it, kind of made like a gesture, and then shook his head yes. So I'm thinking that pit board might have said something to the effect of filter change in pro pits. And I think we might see Ricky Russell come. Look at this. Jordan Ashburn's machine being pushed down pro row. Jordan Ashburn is no longer your leader. His machine is shut down. Are they pulling the seat off, trying to get the filter? We need Mikey Waynes. We need an update.
Wow.
What's going on in the Babbitt-Kawasaki
Man,
pits?
I tell you, Johnny, I mean, we were talking about it, and like we said, I knew that Fred has been down this avenue as a racer himself before, so I knew he would be prepared for this, and they were prepared for it. The only thing is, it just came a little sooner. I mean, Jordan was just within feet, obviously, of the Kawasaki pits whenever this happened, so they're going to try to make it happen.
Man, Rodney, I got bad news. If that machine shut off, we're not looking at a filter change here.
It's sucked up too much.
You can put a filter in there, but that machine is hurt. Jordan Ashburn is in a bad way. He's got his helmet off. Sure, he's overheated, but they've got a bigger issue here.
Yeah, I have to tend to agree with you in that department, unfortunately. But you never know. It might have just been starved for air, maybe not sucked anything into the motor. That's where the big risk is whenever it really starts to get it into the machine itself and start to tear the parts apart inside.
Well, they're putting a filter in. They're going to give it a go. We'll see if they can get this thing to fire. Stay with us here on Racer TV. You're going to get to see right now whether or not this is, and I tell you what, I was going to go out on a limb here. When Caleb Russell went through the backside of VP Fuels Pro Row, after we had seen those guys there, well, no, wait, they shouldn't even be it. Our producer Adam Garden just pointed out.
Yeah.
He is not supposed to be on Pro Row yet, so he has left another section of the pits, had to push the bike over. So if they can get this thing fired, he's going to have to return to the track elsewhere. I'll tell you what, we're going to see Jordan Ashburn outside the top 10. What a sad turn of events here for Jordan Ashburn. You can see, looks like they're trying to get that filter in there. And what do you think, Rodney? Are they going to get this thing to fire? I hope for his sake.
I hope they get it to fire, just if nothing else, to keep the momentum up. But at the same time, it might be just as well if it doesn't, because either way it goes, Jordan Ashburn is dealing with a major heartbreak right now, and maybe being able to go out and ride and push and come back and prove something to himself. Yeah, maybe that would be a good thing for him to do. But at the same time,
they're not going to try. They're giving up on it, Rodney.
Yeah, Joey comes up and says, might as well forget it, boys. And wow, what a heartbreaker there for Jordan Ashburn, as he had what looked like this one dialed in for the day. One more hour, and he could have likely taken Kawasaki, buyback online Monster Energy Kawasaki to their first win in the center of the box. And a little disappointing, a little heartbreaking, but at the same time, that's the nature of the beast, Johnny.
Yeah, I tell you what, man, my stomach hurts for him, honestly. Here is Caleb Russell, your new leader, the Red Bull FMF KTM machine out front, and just like that, we've got another Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall showdown.
Yep.
Just that quick. One little setback like that for Jordan Ashburn. Caleb Russell assumes the point position. Thad Duvall in that second place spot, and this brings the question. Mikey Waynes, if you can hear us, get us an update. Did Caleb Russell and Thad Duvall change air filters, or are they trying to push on the filters that they have? Now, I know KTM and presumably Husky have a little something up their sleeve with the air filter setup they run. They have a pre-filter, which they can literally grab and tear off by hand. They have to remove the side plate, but they can grab it, tear it off by hand, and a lot of times that'll give them just enough air to continue. You can see that man right there, dejected for sure. But Jordan Ashburn, I'll tell you what, Brian Keegan, if you can pat that young man on the shoulder for us and let us know, heck of a race for 2 hours today. Jordan Ashburn was the class of the field, ultimately let down by an untimely machine failure. Nonetheless, absolutely phenomenal ride for him and that Babbitt's Monster Energy Kawasaki team. Won't be the last we see of them.
Yeah, and again, it comes to a situation. It's nothing to do with the machine, the prepping of the machine. It's nothing to do with the anything as far as failure. This is just one of those days. It's the nature of the beast, and that's what GNCC racing is all about. All the elements. I mean, heat sometimes causes a factor. Mud obviously is a big factor, and why not? Dust is a factor as well. We've seen bikes blow up in the mud. We've seen them water out. Same thing goes in dusty conditions, but it's rare that we get perfect, absolutely perfect conditions, but when we do, we certainly welcome them. And even today with the dusty conditions, we're certainly treated to a great battle and a great race. You have to wonder, though, with all these guys going out, is it going to change the way that some of these riders are attacking this track? Are they going to be nearly as aggressive? Or are they just going to say, oh, man, they're dropping like flies. Let's just settle in and finish where we're at right now?
Well, I'll tell you what, two riders I don't anticipate just kind of letting it settle out are the two guys right now battling over the 1 and 2
There's
spot.
Ricky Russell, by the way.
Ricky Russell now into the third place spot, so back into a podium position with Jordan Esperan's departure from the race. Ricky Russell been solid and strong all day in there in that third place spot, and that's going to move everybody up, including this guy right here, Ben Kelly, the 530 machine. The machine is starting. Oh, we need to get Ben Kelly a nickname. King Kelly. King Kelly is starting to roll, and I think Caleb might take a little bit of an exception to that name. I know he's been called King Caleb a few times, but Ben Kelly starting to roll, starting to make up ground, working his way up, and when he checks in at the end of lap number 5, what we're going to see based on what we're looking at right now, Benjamin Kelly was in the 6th place spot. You know what that means?
He's 5th.
5th.
Yep.
Before the race. Remember what I said?
Yep. You expected at least a top 5 out of him. I mean, that would be about where you would expect him to, not really necessarily any further than that. But like we all know, anything's possible, especially with the way the day is rolling here today. If you look at the gap, it's a 35-second gap. He's turning a 28-28. Trevor Bollinger is 35 seconds ahead of him, turning a 28-48. So in theory right now, Kelly is turning a 20-second faster lap than Trevor Bollinger. So there is a possibility looming that maybe Ben Kelly could get his highest 4th even.
Look at this. We got a pit board for Evan Smith. One of the Husky riders, if that's whose board he's holding. If that's for him, it says filter, get off bike.
You are correct, Johnny. I was getting ready to say that. Evan Smith, he's going to be getting a filter. Stu's helping him out. It says filter, get off bike, like you just said. Just confirm with Red Bull, KTM, and Rockstar Energy. No filter changes for those guys. I'm going to head down to the Babbitt's Kawasaki pit, see if I can't get a word in with Jordan Ashburn.
All right, thanks a lot, Mikey. And I'm sure heartbreak first is going to be the mood down there. But at the same time, I have to think there has to be a little bit of excitement, Johnny. I mean, as frustrating as it is and disappointing as it is, he had it today. You know, I mean, what was it Becca Sheet said out there a few minutes ago when she was talking about these guys?
The monsters, what we're calling the track. I don't know which part you're referring to.
Well, she said something about, she said, anyway, I'll remember it here in a few minutes. But she, you know, taking back to that analogy, these guys are out there just basically ripping today, man. I mean, they're pushing it, and they're just sending it, man.
There you go, just sending it.
They're just sending it, man, and that's what they are. They are just sending it right now, and several of them are, and many of them are sending it reluctantly into some of that stuff. Hey, sounds like we got Mikey Waynes with Jordan Ashburn. We get to find out what's going on.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, Jordan Ashburn, man, it's kind of hard to think that there are positives from this, but, man, you were absolutely ripping out there. And tell us about what happened, man.
Yeah, you know, that last lap coming around, that 4th lap, the bike just started losing a little bit of power right there towards the end of the lap, and just like that, it stopped up and just tried to get back here to the pits because I knew the filter was clogged, but didn't make it. So it's a bummer because, I mean, we were the fastest guy out there, I felt like, today, and we was on the hunt for the first win, but we'll be back. So
I like the positivity, man. I gave you some time to cool off there, obviously visibly frustrated, but this does have to be a confidence boost, knowing that you were out in front of these guys and really ripping.
Yeah, our bike is awesome, man. The team's great. Everybody behind me, I mean, it's just fantastic. Everything's really starting to click, and you know, I'm just looking forward to being on the box where we belong.
That's right. Jordan Ashburn said it right there. On the box where he belongs. 2 rounds left to get her together. Guys.
And thanks for that update there, Mikey. And what a heartbreak for that young man. You know, an absolute ride the dreams are made of, unfortunately ruined by a nightmare.
Yeah, dreams do turn into nightmares sometimes, and I wouldn't call it a nightmare. It's
the nightmare of what happened, not the outcome.
No, I know, but I mean, basically, yeah, I mean, it had to be a moment of panic, a moment of frustration. But Jordan, you know, he sounds like he's going to be able to put it behind him and move forward. And if he can't build off of this, I don't know what he would be able to build off of, because I mean, he just went out there and flat laid it out to everybody today so far. So we're watching and waiting right now for the guys down here. Is this is the T-Lee Energy Racing KTM?
I believe they're waiting on Evan Smith. That's who Stu had the pit board out for. And we don't know if he's late or they are just really anticipating his arrival. But they have been out there for several minutes, and they're starting to get more and more and more. And that might actually be Liam Draper that they're waiting on rather than Evan Smith.
I'd say that's the case.
Oh,
right
they're getting ready. It looks like he might be coming, and now they're really getting ready. They're getting the stance. They're getting down to that 3-point stance, and here comes somebody, and it is Liam Draper coming in. Get off the bike, Liam. We need to do a filter. That's what they're telling him.
Like, what? Get off the bike? I like Liam. He is a great personality. I know he's been a little heartbroken with not being able to perform at the level that he had hoped to when he made his way here to the U.S., but certainly this year has treated him a whole lot different in his second season of GNCC racing.
You see how fast that filter change was?
How many seconds, Johnny? I'm going to say it was less than 15.
I didn't time it, but I'll tell you what.
It was less than 15.
Along with that, I agree with you. I'm with that thing. I just picked up my phone here, and 3:17 p.m. I got a text from the freight train. Josh Strang, the 114 rider, home watching Racer TV today. I assume home, not with us this weekend, but he is watching Racer TV. In reference to when we were talking about Jordan Ashburn and if he would potentially have to change a filter, he said the side cover needs to come off, but also it's a screw-in air filter. Hopefully they don't have to change it. So that's one of those things where each machine's design is a little bit different. The way the KTM works is there's just a little kind of a latch that flips. It's a plastic latch. Once you flip that, look at this. Evan Smith lays his machine over on the side. So look at this. So the top riders in XC2 doing filter changes. Again, this is the KTM style change. You see they stuff a new one. It's already in there. Watch this. He's going to flip this latch once he gets it in. That's it. Done. Filter changed and fastened, and they're going to go ahead and throw that side plate back on. That's all the longer it takes on those machines. So kudos to the Austrians. They've got that figured out, and talk about some quick air filter changes.
What, that was a filter skin.
That was a filter skin pre-filter.
Yeah,
correct.
So that was one of those. Normally they have those wrapped around the filter.
Well, yeah, it popped off on the way in. So they really should have grabbed that and pulled it out. It won't really hurt anything, but it shouldn't be in there just kind of floating around. It'll sit against the filter, and essentially what it'll do is it'll kind of limit the airflow without actually performing its intended purpose. Again, it won't be anything that'll cause him to DNF or anything like that.
Right.
It won't cause any mechanical issues. It's just that what happens is when they were trying to shove it in there, it's a small hole. It wraps his hands around it, and it caught the edges and pulled that, as Adam Gordon, our producer, pointed out, hairnet. What is that hairnet looking thing in there? That is a pre-filter, and the installation of the pre-filter did not go according to plan.
Yeah, and those things right there are really nice. Those are the ones that you talk about that you can take those off during the race. And
well, no,
those
no.
are not. Those
so
are
that is a filter skin. What I'm fairly certain some of the KTM and Husky guys are running today is actually called a pre-filter.
Okay, I got you.
And it is foam. It's not a mesh or it's a different consistency, and you actually oil it. So it actually, all of these are dual stage filters at least, but it's basically making a dual stage filter into a 3-stage filter. And because of the way it attaches, you saw those pins that they were sticking the filter on and then latching to. What it does is it actually attaches over those pins, so you can leave the actual initial primary filter in place, and you can just reach in, pop that cover off. You can grab the pre-filter literally with one finger and just tear it off of there. So it's almost like a tear-off for your rear filter.
Yep, there you go. So works out well for them, and unfortunately maybe not going to work that way for Evan Smith. But with 2 laps left to go, at this juncture, I don't think it's going to make much of a factor. He just needed a little more extra airflow, which is what a lot of these riders are looking for in this particular case, Johnny. And right now, you see 2 hours and 10 minutes into this race right now, and a lot of time just keeps ticking away as we work our way toward crowning a champion. Well, our riders out there in oblivion, they've made their way past the 4.5-mile marker, past the 4 3/4, and into the great state of West by God, Virginia, my friends. And of course, they'll be battling it out to cross the Mason-Dixon line before they come back in here near the 9-mile marker. So stick around, my friends, find out what we've got to look forward to as far as the next hour of GNCC racing. Who's going to come out on top? Will Caleb Russell do it? Will Thad Duvall do it? Or will Ricky Russell surprise us all? Stick around. GNCC Live continues right after this.
Consistent clutch fuel is vital to effective starts or to confidently maneuver around obstacles on the trail. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil was subjected to an extreme simulated start test. After 32 simulated race starts, AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil continued to deliver consistent clutch fuel, and the clutch plates remained clean with no visible wear. The competitor's oil, however, allowed discoloration and significant wear after just 16 starts. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil. Give your bike the protection it needs.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Chematic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Chematic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Chematic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment. Whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts depend on Chematic. Chematic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
And welcome back to GNCC Live. Rodney Tomlin along with you, Johnny Gallagher, and of course our own Mikey Waynes as we come to you from round number 11 of the Rocky Mountain ATV-MC GNCC, Mason-Dixon GNCC. It's all presented by Specialized. And, of course, as we I heard the producer, he had 10 on the thing, and whenever I said around it, he's like, oh! So, but there, you see some shots from the weekend, and what it's like around the GNCC as folks prepare themselves, rolling through the weekend and rolling through the race day as they get set. Of course, a little tinkering here, a little bite of lunch there, and a little anxiety here, and a little planning there. And there's Jordan Ashburn. You can see the determination in his eye. And there you go. That was, we talked about this a lot. Last night's Pit Bike Challenge. It was a multi-state championship where states went against one another. And as we had pointed out, Mikey Wayne's over there last night. I was at the dog show, but Mikey Wayne's is over at the pit bike race. And I was trying to get over there, but couldn't. But my team Ohio, our team Ohio, Johnny G, wins the Pit Bike Challenge. And we have the team honors now. Willie Browning coming over from over in Ohio, and happened to see his mom and dad last night. Before I actually saw him, I didn't even realize Willie was here. But there's Ricky Towery waving the checker flags and giving these folks a excitement that he need. Rob Bitus there from Parts Unlimited. There is Fred Andrews, captain of the winning team. And now, a little bit before that last night, we had the Specialized E-Turbo EMTB GNCC round number 7. Charlie Mullins coming into this one, likelihood and a major possibility of capturing the first ever EMTB AM8 National Championship. And as things took off, it was a hairy one. Charlie got off to the early lead in this one, but that guy right there, the number 4, that's John Action Ayers, the son of John Ayers from Moto T's, 1981 Blackwater champ. Well, Action, he really put a thorn in the side to Charlie Mullins for the first 3 laps or so last night, and then all of a sudden Charlie was able to find some sort of way to distance himself from the rest of the pack, and also away from Johnny there. So he ended up taking a big win. Johnny got second place position, and doggone, I've already forgotten who got third place. I mean, it was.
I think it may have been Seth Stevens.
Yes, it was Seth Stevens, because there was a change. The third, fourth, and fifth place riders.
Nat Ross was.
Nat Ross was in third, and then there's fourth and fifth had gained on him, and Nat got passed on that last lap. Actually, I saw Nat pushing his bike in. He had a mechanical issue of some sort.
Rodney, I heard during the race yesterday, as we saw Charlie Mullins on screen, there is John Ayers, Johnny Ayers, young John Ayers. You had asked the question how Charlie did. I'm sure you've had an answer to this question, but just talk about it on Racer TV Live. If anyone, I don't want to say in a negative light, but if anybody isn't exactly sure of just how serious this e-bike thing is and has become, there's Talon Hawk, Barry Hawk's son. I believe he may have taken the win in.
No, he ended up coming up short, and Barry came up short in his class. But they were both featured on the trophy, on the awards for yesterday. It was really cool to see.
Very cool. And that man right there, Charlie Mullins, where I was going with that, you had asked during the race how Charlie Mullins fared during the World Championship round in Mount St. Anne, Canada last month, and Charlie Mullins finished 4th place in the e-bike mountain bike worlds, also winning. And anybody who understands cycling knows the relevance and the importance of this. He won a rainbow jersey for the Masters class in World Championships. So he is
That's
the Masters
huge.
class World Champion. Now, that's not an e-bike. That's on a conventional bicycle. Then a few days later, went on to race the e-bike and finished 4th. And anybody who follows my mountain biking at all, and if you don't, I'll make this quick. The rider who Charlie was battling with on the last lap of the Mountain Bike World Championships in Mount St. Anne, Canada, he actually made the pass and was in the 3rd place spot, and ultimately he made a mistake on a downhill, losing out by just about 10 seconds to a man by the name of Julien Absalon from France, who is the greatest of all time in cross-country World Cup mountain biking. The best, most decorated, most championships ever of any mountain bike racer, retiring just at the end of last season, still in the prime of his life, and he's racing e-bikes now, pedal assist technology with Charlie Mullins. Charlie Mullins finishing 4th, and these are the absolute best cyclists in the world. This isn't a regional competition. This isn't a national competition. This is the best of the best of the best of bicycle riders in the world. Charlie Mullins finishing 4th, and the only thing he had to say afterwards is, I know I can do better next year.
Wow. And when Charlie says that, you know he means it, you know. And one thing I want to point out, I have to say that Charlie Mullins quite likely could still be, I think, the fastest rider on the racetrack today. The last time he raced, remember, after coming back from such a long time, I think it was at Steel Creek, if I'm not mistaken, with the wrist injuries and everything, Charlie, he announced his retirement that day, but he came out and got the early lead. And what we always like to say, check out Charlie, went into check out Charlie mode. I mean, he had probably a minute and a half lead at the end of that first lap.
Massive, absolutely massive.
And just simply pulled off the racetrack and said, I'm retiring.
Yep, it was. I think they waited a couple of days for the official announcement.
Uh-oh. We're getting an update now. We're getting an update, and we don't know for sure what's going. We are going to see this, I'm sure, here pretty soon, though. Everybody but Caleb Russell has checked in through the 8-mile marker. Unless someone missed Caleb going through, there's a possibility that Caleb might be suffering from some sort of an issue out there himself right now.
I got to tell you, Rodney, I'm shocked that Caleb Russell and Thad Duvall have not stopped for air filter changes.
Right.
You know, as quick as it is to do on those machines, I'm baffled that those riders have not changed. I'll tell you what, there was a plume of white smoke coming out of Ben Kelly's bike as he crossed over the road there.
Wow.
Hey, guys, Jesse Ansley in the pits right now getting the air filter change that just seems to be standard procedure here today. So, yeah, just add them to the list.
Well, hey, I guess this is something that we haven't been faced with this year, maybe even at least to this extreme in the last couple of years, as far as this silty type dirt dust that's coming up in these machines. So, this is something we're familiar with, Johnny, from years ago. But as of recent years, this is something that we haven't seen a lot of because of technology and things like that. So that's got to tell you, man, these guys are pushing pretty hard in these extreme conditions today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope the word is spreading through VP Fuels Pro Row right now that if you've got a rider on the track riding at the pace that these top 10, top 15, top 20 riders are, and they have not changed an air filter, unless you think that you're that it can't happen to me guy, I would suggest you prep a filter and pull your rider in, because if not, we have seen rider after rider either push their machine back or just disappear altogether. Again, we're getting a possible update that word is that Caleb Russell may have knocked his air filter out. I don't know exactly how you go about doing that. Maybe he tried to remove the...
Yeah, so I would assume my theory on that would be if he knew it was choking up and he knew he was going to have to stop for an air filter anyway and it wasn't running, why not risk it and go ahead and pull the air filter out and hope that you get some air to it? I don't know.
Yeah,
that would be me personally. I might try that. I don't know what kind of.
Yeah, that would be machine suicide. It would not last. Here is Caleb Russell coming by. So he does have that machine running again, but he has dropped back a good ways. He's behind Andrew DeLong.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He's behind Ben Kelly. So we know he is outside the top 5, potentially back as far as 7th place. So we don't know if he removed the filter and is currently running without it, or were they able to get him a filter. We'll get an update just as soon as we can, folks. Caleb Russell back in motion and moving, but giving up a ton of time and a ton of positions in what we're hearing, potentially an air filter related issue. Again, that seems to be the theme of the day.
Well, with Jordan Ashburn out and Caleb Russell dropping back to behind Andrew DeLong. Andrew DeLong just inherited 5th place position, if I'm counting that back right, which means that Trevor Bollinger is 4th, Ricky Russell in 3rd, Thad Duvall Yeah, actually, actually, I guess it would be Thad Duvall would be your leader. Ricky Russell would be second. Trevor Bollinger third. Ben Kelly in fourth.
Yep.
Andrew DeLong in the number 5 spot. Lane Michael, this will prove huge dividends for him as well as he'll move up to 6th place.
Here's your leader. Thad Duvall leading the way, and now he should, based off of what we've seen on screen the last couple laps, he should have a pretty comfortable lead over Ricky Russell. Now, we're not talking minutes here, folks, but he should have, as the white flag is waving,
About a minute
lead on Ricky Russell as we last saw. But again, so many things in limbo here. You know, has Thad Duvall, as far as we know, he has not changed an air filter. You know, very similar setup that Caleb Russell is running. Caleb Russell just having filter issues. You know, with the lead that Thad Duvall has, I can't imagine if they have not changed an air filter and we're just not aware of it, I can't imagine that they're not going to change one now. They would have to. With a minute, you can change an air filter in under 20 seconds, 30 seconds maximum. It would be absolute lunacy to not put a filter in Thad Duvall's machine.
Yeah, you would think so. That's for sure.
Even if it's just a safety measure.
Right.
With that kind of a gap, you come in, let him catch his breath, give him a little bit of water, give him some goggles, say, well done, chap. We're going to change out this filter for you and go out and finish this one out. They're going to have to do it. You just can't take that risk.
Well, Duvall in, and we're waiting on waiting on Ricky Russell. There comes the 2-1-2 now, I believe. Yep, that's him, the 2-1-2 into the finish line chicanes now. And if you can't tell, Johnny, the dust is also affecting me. My allergies are really giving me a fit right now. But
yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that. It sounded like I was out there racing yesterday and buried in some silt for hours this morning, digging bikes out of holes.
Why aren't you talking like this and like I am right now?
I think I'm immune to the dust and the bramble bushes. I've got blood running down my legs. It's just part of the game, man. I don't have to go to work tomorrow morning, but the weekends for me are just pinned wide open the whole time, and I love every minute of it. Wouldn't have it any other way. Look at this. Trevor Bollinger in the finish line chicanes, which means he is now in that third place spot, but very, very, very close to second place. So Bollinger having kind of a ride so far today. So it seemed suddenly within striking distance of a second place position. How far back is he, Rodney?
Well, right now as we update the situation, 36.9 seconds, 37 seconds for Trevor Bollinger behind Ricky Russell. Ricky Russell is 1 minute and 5 seconds now behind Thad Duvall.
Well, that gap's going to get a little bit smaller here because these guys here, they look pretty intent on something. Tanner Tremaine there we see Maggie Duvall, Blue, the truck driver. They are prepping, and I'm betting that what they're shielding in front of them is a fresh, clean air filter that's going to go in the 989 Rockstar Racing Husqvarna machine. Great call on the part of those guys. Even if he doesn't need it, even if he would have been absolutely fine, again, why push it? Why take chances? You got a 1 minute and 5 second lead. You know, they can brew him a cup of coffee in the Keurig and change an air filter in less than 1 minute and 5 seconds. And I don't think he needs the coffee right now, so let's just give him the filter, send him on his way.
Exactly, and I imagine that's probably exactly what we're going to see. I know that these guys are kind of tight as far as what their plans are and things of that nature, but sometimes the writing on the wall just says it all.
That's right. When you see him looking that intently. Lane Michael, again, another rider that we're going to see moving up. Well, we've only seen 3 check. No, we did see Ben Kelly in 4th. So Lane Michael up into the 5th place spot. What a ride for Lane. Well, did Andrew DeLong check in yet with 4 laps complete or 5 laps complete?
I didn't see him go through yet. I know we got Ben Kelly in 4th, Lane Michael in 5th. What did happen to Andrew?
Oh, there goes that. I believe that was Andrew DeLong on screen just to the right there.
Oh, man. Heartbreaker.
Trevor Bollinger, is he possibly losing power? No. I don't know. Trevor Bollinger does not look like he is at full steam right now.
He doesn't. He looks like he's struggling a little bit, but maybe that just might be the way he's riding right now, conservatively.
I don't know. Trevor Bollinger, I believe, is experiencing some air filters or some type of issues. He is not hard on the throttle through those sections. Maybe just conserving that filter, knowing that when he gets to the VP Fuels Pro Row, they're going to give him a new one. But I think we're seeing Trevor Bollinger start to have some issues with that machine running ill.
Well, heartbreaker again for Andrew DeLong, who was looking for a top 5 possibly there. Has dropped off to the 6th place position. He's now 21 seconds back of Lane Michael. So, again, victim of some sort of issue.
Oh, white smoke coming out of Caleb Russell's machine. And I tell you what, I'm going to tell you right now, I saw the same out of Ben Kelly. When he came by, Ben Kelly had white smoke coming out of that machine. Don't know if they've changed the filter, but he's through. Caleb Russell visibly, he made gestures of mechanics there. They were standing there and they didn't put a filter in, so I'm assuming he must have gotten a filter or else pulled that pre-filter. Looks like the machine has good power, but if you watch in certain sections, when he's hard on the throttle, lets off and gets back on the gas, we see a plume of white smoke come out of the exhaust. What that means is the compression rings on the piston are wiped out. So he's getting a lot of blow-by, he's getting a lot of unburned fuel, and that machine is not running at maximum efficiency. Nothing too crazy major. You know, they're obviously going to have to put a new engine in that machine for the next round, but I would think that if they're able to get a good filter in there and they got the intake clean, and the other thing is, all of these guys changing filters, it is of very much importance that you get a good seal on that filter when you go in. You can't just put it in there halfways and jam the cover back on. It's got to seal, because any little bit of blow-by and air coming through there that has particles of dust in it will just absolutely wipe out a motor incredibly quickly. Josh Toth now checking in. Andrew DeLong obviously through the finish line section and working his way towards VP Fuels Pro Row in that 6th place spot. As you said, 21 seconds behind the number 5 ride of Lane Michael, the 523 machine. Can't say enough about that young man, leading so much of our race at the Black Sky just 2 weeks ago. We see one of our lapped riders doing a little bit of pushing, and we can assume, probably correctly, that he's got an air filter issue, because it seems everybody else does. We're gonna need dusk masks just for everybody to get around the course here, but he is pushing that machine to the finish. He is not gonna accept not finishing that lap. It may have been, no, Lane Michael had already gone through that section. But Lane Michael, again, leading so much of our last round. Here we are. Thad Duvall off his machine, side saddle coming into the pits. He steps off. He's still holding on. He knows he's leading. It looks like he's taking a hammer gel. It looks like, look at that.
That's how quick.
Filter already off, already back on. That was not even 10 seconds, folks. Thad Duvall on his way, new fresh filter, and a little bit of an insurance policy.
Ricky
for
Kyrie could have stuck his left arm straight out, came back in and waited, and Thad Duvall was ready for that green flag to wave. I mean, that was pretty spectacular as far as mechanical engineering and not only engineering, but just performance of those guys, man, just off the scale.
Thad Duvall going to owe Tanner Tremaine a adult beverage after this one for that speedy quick filter change. I mean, we've seen some quick ones. We saw quite a few in the Tealy pits go down there. Liam Draper, Evan Smith, both probably, as we noted, under 20-25 seconds at the absolute maximum. Pretty sure Thad Duvall just did his in -1 second. He actually gained time by changing the filter. That's how fast the filter change was. Tanner Tremaine doing an absolute bang-up job there, getting that filter changed out. Here is Ricky Russell coming into VP Fuels Pro Row. We don't know. Has Russell already taken a filter? He's sitting currently comfortable in that 2nd place spot. His lead over Trevor Bollinger at last check was 36 seconds. So if he's up, he's by the Ampro pits. If he was going to get a filter, he would have done it there. He is going to take a drink bottle from mechanic Lucas Statham. So he's got a little bit of hydration for this final lap push. And there, Lucas Statham looking back at Eric Surratt and the Phoenix Honda rider.
Intimidator time.
Intimidator time. So that's Trevor Bollinger. We've heard the rumor earlier this year was that Trevor Bollinger is the
Burke County or is it?
Oh, look at this. Craig DeLong not able to get his machine running.
Another one.
Steve Hatch pushing him. They're pushing. They're going to try and get him up and into the pits. Another victim of an air filter change. Trevor Bollinger by and does not look like he is going to pit for an air filter. Craziness. Again, maybe Bollinger already took a filter. Don't know. Can't say for sure. Don't want to speculate. But did not look like he was stopping in VP Fuels Pro Row. He was still hammered down. And here we see another rider having a bump start his bike, man. I tell you what. Oh, look at that. White smoke just pouring out of those machines. Man, crazy. Oh, that's Ben Kelly. Ben Kelly, his machine shut off. He was able to bump start it, and now he's coming in with white smoke pouring out of that machine.
Man, this day has been a day of attrition, no doubt about it. It's been, I mean, not only are you racing against one another, you're racing more against the elements, I think, now than you would under muddy conditions, Johnny. I mean, this is, you've got to be very smart in what you're doing out there. You don't want to suck up any more of that dust than you have to, and I think these guys maybe not realizing that until it's too late.
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, I'm gonna reserve judgment on some of this today, because obviously it's easy to be the Monday morning quarterback from your armchair, but I would have played this a lot differently if I was a lot of these guys, because
we got to take into account experience, and you've been around for a while longer.
Well, no, I mean, obviously sometimes in conditions like this, when you see just rider after rider after rider having issues, you can't take the stance that, oh, well, it's not going to happen to me. You have to assume, look at his machine won't fire. They've put a new filter in, but Ben Kelly's machine will not fire. The mechanics are pushing him down VP fuels per row, but they cannot get that machine fired. It just won't go. What's happening is there's so much blow by. You can see that thing just puking white smoke, and he's not able to get it fired, largely due to the fact that the machine won't build enough compression.
Man.
It just won't even fire up.
Well, you know, I mean, you can take away from this a couple of different things. As far as Ben Kelly's pro racing debut, you could say what a heartbreaking situation and circumstance for him. Doing so well, actually looking and maybe positioning himself for an overall podium as we were watching him make some gains on that third place rider Trevor Bollinger. But at the same time, you look at that and you say, man, for the first 2 hours and 30 minutes or so, or 2 hours and 20 minutes, Ben Kelly was a major factor and a major player in that XC1 class. If only he hadn't had mechanical issues, how great would his day have been?
Well,
So
they're not
that's
giving up on it. There is a slight little bit of a hill back there at the very back of the pro pits. If they can get to that, they might be able to bump start down. This guy not blowing any white smoke. Thad Duvall running in that #1 spot, and he's got a comfortable lead over Ricky Russell. A minute and some odd seconds, I believe.
5 last time we saw.
But again, the variable, we do not know if Ricky Russell has stopped and changed the filter. Ricky Russell has a very different setup, at least if the Yamahas this year are the same as they have been in the past. The air filter is actually up on top of the machine, where the fuel tank would be on the majority of machines. So that could be an advantage for him. Maybe they know he's not going to suck as much dust, but the disadvantage would be if they do have to change a filter, he's got to remove a cover to get to it, then change a filter, and it is a screw-on style filter.
Sorry about that.
We haven't seen Ricky have an extended pit stop. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. We just didn't get it on camera if it did. So don't know if Ricky's changed the filter, but if he hasn't, man, that must. Here we see Ben Kelly still trying to push that machine. He's got 2 mechanics pushing. Husky guys are pitching in. Everybody is trying to get him going. Actually, that might be Lucas Statham, one of the Yamaha mechanics.
I think it is.
Ricky Russell's mechanic, and here is Ricky in that #2 spot.
And just ahead of him was our rider from Japan that is here with us, of course, and he from the GNCC. So we see him out on the track still traversing the terrain, and that's saying a lot for him because, I mean, I'm sure this is a pretty amazing circumstance to be racing in as well.
Nope, that is one of the Husky mechanics. I see the Rockstar logo on the hat there. We see the truck drivers pitching in. We got Mike, which is Ben's mechanic. Looks like possibly AG. It looks like they've got the whole run-of-the-mill of everybody down there. Austin Lee, the Mohawk man, he's coming through. Don't know where he's sitting in that XC2 Pro Lights class. Last we had checked, again, Craig DeLong, another rider whose machine had expired, and they were trying to push it to get back.
Ooh, I'm sorry. I just looked down here, and I'm watching these results. Liam Draper leading the XC2 class now, and he's got, according to what I'm reading here, the gap, 15-second lead now over the second place ride, or did have. Remember, we saw Craig he broke down. He had a 15-second lead over Craig DeLong, and then it was Ryder Lafferty in the #3 spot. So I'm going to say with Craig DeLong's issue that we saw with him, did he get going back? I couldn't remember, but anyway, Rafferty's in a good position. Evan Smith is even in a good position. And speaking of Evan Smith, a guy that was helping him there just a few moments ago was Stu Baylor, and Stu is making his way down right now. Go ahead. I was going to give him a handheld mic there, Johnny, if you want, and then that way we can all three converse here. But Stu, man, you were one of the first victims today as far as these air filters. I am assuming it was an air filter situation for you. Sucked some of that silt in and things like that. And we've just been seeing riders with all kinds of mechanical issues today.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the 2 strokes obviously suck a lot harder and first ones to go. But I never even got the opportunity to suck dust. I think I got the bike a little hot early, and the motor just shut down on me, and then. Grant kind of had the same issue, almost looked identical to mine when it came in. But sitting in the pits, I was listening to the bikes go by and going out on the track. And, you know, even the ones that sound good, you can tell just by actual speed that the bikes just aren't moving fast. And, you know, the last time I can remember a race like this was 2010 Ironman. So, you know, that's the last time I can remember changing filters mid-race. But walked over and I talked to the Teely pits, and as well as Evan Smith, another good buddy of mine, and I was like, listen guys, I know there's 2 to go, but a filter is almost necessary. And then we see Craig DeLong drop there at the finish, and his bike stalled. So
Ben Kelly on screen.
Yeah,
what we're looking
and
at right
Kelly
now.
on screen.
You know, we've got Caleb Russell. We're
Caleb
told,
had the issues.
Had an issue with his filter.
Yeah,
I mean, they're literally
Bollinger,
dropping like flies. Bollinger is running at like half throttle.
Yeah, Bollinger came by and said he needed it. Like that, he was screaming. I don't think it was at the 9 mile. He came by screaming he needs a filter.
But yet he went by the pits and didn't get one. So I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah,
But his machine, I would, and I'm not. No, this is no bad juju. This is just an observation. I would be shocked if Trevor Bollinger finishes this last lap without issue. Not saying he won't finish, but he's going to have to stop. They're going to have to get him a filter out on the track, which folks at home watching, that is completely legal.
Yeah.
Pro riders can only fuel in the VP Fuels Pro Row. If their machine has other mechanical issues, you can fix it anywhere out on the track. Caleb Russell on screen. At this point, Rodney, we have no idea what place Caleb Russell is. We know when we last looked, he was around that 7th place spot.
Yeah,
but now
7th.
Ben Kelly has gotten back around Ben Kelly.
Lane was just in front of him, and Lane's bike, I noticed his bike was not moving at all.
So Lane Michael in 5th. We know that Andrew DeLong 6th. Caleb Russell was 7th.
Yeah.
But now each of those guys have moved up 1 spot because we've lost Ben Kelly. So that was already factoring in, or was it?
Oh, Craig DeLong's in the pits now, changing a filter.
Yeah, they got Craig's.
I got bad news for that. I don't know if that bike's going to refire. Oh, it did. Did it fire?
It did.
No, they're pushing him. That's the problem. These guys have run these things so long, and then they're trying to fire them up. The rings are wiped in these things, and they're trying to bump start them, and they just won't have it.
Yeah, I know that I've seen a few of the bikes, and it's just there's absolutely no compression in these things, and it's funny. There's one extreme or the other. Either it's too muddy and saving the bike, or too dry and trying to save the bike. And like I said, this is the first race in 9 years that I can remember being this bad. And as far as visibility, the first few laps, I mean, I knew it was going to be tough on the bike.
Did Craig get his bike fired?
Our producer Adam Gordon says it looks like they got it fired. I think that's an optimistic view. He just went into the woods. He was coasting. That is a downhill. It is possible, but I'm going to say Craig DeLong is sitting down in those woods. Again, not being a pessimist, but I'm being a realist here. When you run a machine to the point where it physically shuts off, simply replacing a filter doesn't solve your issue. You've got rings that are wiped out. You've got way more issues. You could have a clogged, injector. You've got so many issues. I mean, all you can do at that point is change a filter, hope for the best.
Right.
If you can get a big enough downhill, if you can get that starter to spin fast enough, if you got a kicker machine and, you want to take turns kicking it for 10, 15 minutes, you might be able to get it to start. But as we've seen with Ben Kelly, I mean, 4 or 5 guys pushing him. They found a downhill. They're trying everything. And that's all you can do in that situation. You can't give up. You got to try everything you can, but those machines are done, man. They're expired. They ran them too long without changing an air filter. When you get to that point, Stu, you can chime in here. When you get to that point where it's spitting and sputtering, it doesn't want to pull hills, you have to demand as a rider, if the mechanics aren't ready, if the team's not ready, you stop in the pits and you say, hey boys, I'm going to sit here while you oil in a filter because I'm not going to get another lap out of this thing. And that's where I think a lot of these guys have gone wrong. They think they can get one more lap out of it. They think they can finish the race, and it's just coming back to bite them so hard. But again, no one was prepared for it. It's been 9 years since we've had these kind of conditions.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it was a little bit of talk in the pits. Is there going to be a possibility of the filter change? But it wasn't even. It wasn't decided. Everybody just thinks. These bikes have done well in dry races before, but after being out there, it's not your normal dry race. The way that this place deteriorates. I mean, I know you saw it yesterday. It's
Silt.
it's like baby
We were
powder.
talking about it earlier. We have dust. We're used to dust. We race dusty races all the time. This isn't dust, man. I mean, there's dust in the fields. What you see right here is dust. What you see in the woods, that's not dust. That's silt. We typically only see that out west in the desert. Tequila and chupacabras and stuff run around in silt. Here at the Mason-Dixon GNCC, the Mason-Dixon monster has brought out the silt.
Yeah, definitely. I know the only way I could describe this is Argentina ISD. Like I remember getting stuck in silt ruts there, and it was no different out there. I mean, even at lap 2 where I wasn't able to finish, there were ruts and some of the bases of the hills just where everybody's driving so hard that were littered with rocks underneath and holes that would take you over the bars if you weren't careful. And just watching the riders, watching them out on the track, I noticed what Thad seems to be doing just a little bit better than everybody else. Is he's setting up really wide, crossing the silt, the outside edge of it, and able to catch the inside of the track, which is where it's a reverse line. I mean, it's not what you know to do, especially as Americans. It's like a Euro style, and it's definitely working. I mean, his bike still sounds good. He's riding strong, but the biggest thing is he's saving it.
They did do a filter change for that.
They did.
Yes, they did, because he was I assume, you know, they had to play the odds. He had 1 minute and 5 seconds on Ricky Russell. They knew they could do it. They changed the filter in under 5 seconds. It was the quickest thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
They were in and out and gone. He virtually gave up no time.
It might have been 7.
Well, no, it was -1. Remember, I
That's
calculated.
right.
He actually gained a
time.
second by changing the filter based on our timing here on Racer TV Live, and that is a beyond reproach. You cannot question it. We are absolutely perfect and right all the time. But, you know, Stu, you mentioned Argentina 2014, and that was a heartbreaker for the American ISDE effort. I mean, the bikes were just dropping like flies. It was a lot like today. You know, riders just not showing up to checks. Where are they at? And basically just saying, look, what's the point of even bringing this bike back to the States? It's junk, and that's what we're going to have here today. A lot of these teams are going to have absolutely no choice but to just go ahead and get a big dumpster after this race and throw the engines in them, because these engines are going to be absolute junk.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I guarantee I'd love to see the results when everything's done to see how many guys actually don't finish today. I would say half the field.
It's going to be a big number, and there's going to be a lot of names that you wouldn't expect, which we've already seen out there.
And here's another thing, you know, going forward, and maybe this most likely surely won't affect our XC1 class, because any of the top contenders in XC1, you know, they're going to realize this issue. At the very least, they're going to rip these engines down, put a fresh top end, piston rings, all that, clean the intakes real well. But this is the Johnny G Racer TV public service announcement for the day to all of our amateur riders. When you're watching this, if you have an amateur rider at home or here racing today and you're at home watching this, please, please, please beg of your rider when they get home, not only to clean their air filter, but to remove their intake, remove the throttle body or carburetor, whatever they have, clean it completely, and inspect the engine, because if it sucked anything, it needs to be rebuilt or repaired before the next race, or we're going to see almost more failures at round 12 than what we saw at round 11, based off machines that...
And, you know, we're watching this race and seeing these conditions here at the Mason-Dixon GNCC. What was it like a year ago here, Stu? Do you remember?
It was night and day difference. I mean, it was rut riding at its finest. Goggles were off, and basically a full mutter. Thad and I battled all day long. We were back and forth from start to finish, and I think I wasn't expecting this by any means.
Much different look to the racetrack a year ago is what we're looking at here. It looks so loamy and so, I mean, just a lot of traction and just good riding out there. I mean, there's rocks and it's rough, but at the same time, a lot better looking than it is today.
I'll tell you what, this was a fun racetrack. This was one of my favorite races last year. The dirt was just absolutely epic. And we were even closer after the rain. The rain was, or actually I think it rained again on Saturday night, if I remember.
Yeah, we got a little more rain that night.
The dirt was mint. Everything was awesome. And I got to tell you, this is nothing again. The awesome piece of property. The tracker did a phenomenal job. But from a racing standpoint, this weekend, it was terrible. It sucked this year. It was just too dry, and there's nothing we can do about it. But that's GNCC racing, man. You know, Mother Nature doesn't take reservations and doesn't take orders from anybody.
You know, Thad Duvall won here last year as we watched things wrap up in last year's highlights. If you saw that, Thad Duvall took the win here. Stu, you got second here.
Yeah, that's Stu right behind him there in that video.
That actually just past that camera shot was where I basically threw away the day. I got in it with a lapper, and after that, I just never could get that margin back. I think it was 20 seconds there at the finish. But, yeah, it was all these camera shots actually make this track look fairly easy versus last year. The camera shots make it look almost primo. There were sections in the woods where we were dog paddling through. I mean, the ruts and the bottoms were really gnarly. It was a lot gnarlier, if I remember correctly. It was a lot gnarlier than that. I don't think TV does any justice. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of different lines that ran together, crossing. I mean, it was one of the best races I've ever had. Just the amount of times you were going back and forth with the changing lines. And you know, today it's one line. I would absolutely hate to be on a quad. Obviously,
it was terrible.
Johnny knows more about that. But
I wanted to go home.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to line up for sure. I mean, there was no pass. It was tough to pass for us, but you know, you think about the width of a dirt bike tire versus a quad tire, and they spin a lot more. There comes Thad in the camera shot, just floating along.
Yeah, looking good. No white smoke come from that machine. Full power, full steam ahead for that Husqvarna 350 machine on that Rockstar Racing Husqvarna team. And you know, Stu, something you pointed out there. There is one of our XC3 riders, 318. That was at one point our leader, if it still may or may not be, the 318 machine in XC3. Forget the gentleman's name now. Chase Colville, maybe?
Yes, Chase Colville.
Yeah,
Rider.
he was leading, and I think he may still be. He's just gone a lap down to Thad Duvall. But, Stu, you made a great point. You were talking about how the TV doesn't really do justice to how difficult the track was last year. It seldom does. So for you folks watching at home, you're seeing shots like this, and you've seen a few where, it looks like it's dusty. No, the camera cannot capture what it's like down in these deep woods, because if we put a camera down in there, the same thing that would happen to it as has happened to all these motorcycles, it would be garbage and we would have to throw it away. There is Ricky Russell, the 212 machine, in that number 2 spot.
Well,
these are some lap riders coming through.
Update on the XC3 class.
Let's hear it.
Jake Froman is out front now after lap number 5. He is leading now Jesse Ansley, who is 3 minutes and 51 seconds behind him. Then it's Chase Colville, 7 minutes and 13 seconds back of him. So Chase has dropped back to third. He obviously.
What do you think? Air filter?
I'm going to guess that. Yes.
There is Trevor Bollinger. So there's your number 3 rider that sometimes gets mistaken for a very famous number 3, Dale Earnhardt. He is the intimidator of Morganton, North Carolina, we've been told. And he is there in that 3rd place spot.
What is it, Burke County? Is that where that is down there? I think he's the Burke County Intimidator, they were calling him.
Yeah, good old Burke County. Trevor is more famous there than I think any other racer is nationwide.
It's obvious when we go there, too. Got a great fan base down there. But and nationwide as well. Johnny, man, I mean, we're just mere minutes away now. I mean, they just went past the 9-mile marker. Thad Duvall on his way to making back-to-back wins right here at the Mason-Dixon GNCC. And again, no super huge championship points made up. I mean, there were several of those made, but that's not what he's after right now. He's just after good rides, good finishes, and hopefully wins.
You can say he's not after that, and I understand he says that, and he means it when he says it, but in the back of his mind, this is a good points day for Thad Duvall. It keeps the championship alive for one more round, and it puts a dent. It's not even a stagnant day where, as of right now, if Thad would win, Caleb's second, he'd pick up 5 points. With a 52-point deficit, 5 points isn't really anything to shake a stick at. But right now, Caleb Russell running in, as far as we know, 7th place. Thad Duvall winning. Caleb Russell in 7th would get 14 points. Thad Duvall with 30. That's a 16-point chunk out of the 52-point lead. Brings it down closer to that magic number of 30, which is what you can get in one race.
Yep.
If he can chip away a little bit more next race, he can keep it alive one more round.
Yep, he sure can. And I tell you, when we go to the summit here in a few weeks, Johnny, who knows what weather's going to be like? Is it going to start to moisten up? Is it going to get dry? Is it going to be dusty there again? Are we going to see some of the same types of scenarios and situation that we're experiencing here? That's the big question that we don't know and we have to wait and see about. But again, that's the great unknown element of GNCC that keeps us coming back and obviously keeps us guessing. As again, Thad Duvall in the home stretch, from what I understand, headed toward the finish line, and virtually nobody behind him.
Are we allowed to wager on Racer TV?
I don't see why not.
Because Stu and I are taking bets on who's going to be the next bike to pop through. As we last looked, just so we can clarify, who was 4th when they checked in?
Ben Kelly.
No.
Correct.
Well, it may be when they checked in at scoring, but we know he is. So who do we believe was 4th of the riders? So what was the rundown as they checked in at the completion of last lap?
Pull that up at Duvall, Russell, Bollinger, Ben Kelly, Lane Michael were your top 5.
Then after that, it would have been Andrew DeLong and Caleb. There comes Andrew DeLong right there, and
so Andrew, now we can't bet now because you lose. He said
and
Caleb
Lane
Russell
right on
was
him.
going to be the next bike by, and I was going to make it a $20 bet, but now it's too dang late. So there is your 4th and 5th place riders. Andrew DeLong in 4th place now. 5th place, Lane Michael. Talk about that.
Wow. That, I mean, this, hey, I was talking about it earlier. We were talking about that. There's been a banner day and a great day. Actually, Andrew had clawed his way into a top 5 there a lap or so ago whenever all this started happening, and then we saw him fall back. So you have to wonder if he hadn't had whatever issue it was he had, just how far up he could be today, man. I mean,
currently sitting 4.
Yeah.
At this point, you have to wonder, is Caleb still
there? He is right there.
So
Caleb Russell
he knows he's stuck there. He's riding, I'm sure, conservative after the issue. Because he's got to a championship on the line.
Yeah, and that's so as he sits right now in that would be 6th place spot. That would be 15 points. Here it is, man of the day, man of the hour, the 989 Rockstar Racing, Husqvarna, Thad Duvall coming in, final chicanes to put the finishing touches 2 years in a row for this man at the Mason-Dixon GNCC, Rodney.
That's exactly it. The final turns, Johnny Gallagher, as he looks, he slaps that number plate. He knows he is the man here on the Mason-Dixon line. 2 years in a row, as you said, and Thad Duvall takes another win here at the Mason-Dixon GNCC. And I'll tell you, it hasn't been without a lot of excitement today. We look back on this one, guys. Thad didn't have the best of starts. He had to claw his way up through the pack just to get in to a position to be in the top 5. And then after that, wow, things just really started getting crazy out there, and things started happening. And this rider right here, another spectacular and phenomenal ride for Ricky Russell. I mean,
well, I don't think that was a minute 5 either. He made it from the ground there.
I think that one might have been a little bit quicker or a little bit tighter. But regardless, I mean, the ride that Ricky has put in consecutively 2 races in a row, and we take a look at the big picture
39
here.
seconds.
Obviously, this is one of those situations where we've got some great building blocks for some of these riders heading into the final 2 rounds.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to, and this is not, I know, Rodney, sometimes the hype, they accuse us of putting bad juju. I don't want to put bad juju on anybody. Never mind. I was going to say, Trevor Bollinger, we know he was having some air filter issues. How epic would it be to see Andrew DeLong in that 4th place spot come through? But this man right here deserves it. Return to the podium after a strong start to the season, having some health issues, having to miss a number of races, and he's back today. And Dale Earnhardt of Burke County, the Intimidator, Trevor Bollinger on the box in 3rd place.
Yeah, that's impressive. You know, Trevor's really worked hard. You can tell by his fitness. He's definitely after it, and I think he was a little intimidated after, I guess you would say. He kind of fell behind there towards the end, and he definitely rebounded this race and showed the guys that he's definitely one that could be a force in the last few rounds. I could see Trevor with another win by the season's out. I mean, he's really been on top of things, his training, and I mean, the guy's on fire. You can't take anything away from him.
Yeah, absolutely. A consistent podium contender early in the season, and he's made his way back. It was not without its trials and tribulations. I mean, he was a guy that week in and week out was a podium contender early in the season, and he just kept saying, man, I know that win's coming. I know that win's coming. And then an untimely illness. He had to miss a couple of rounds, and then, you know, he made the comment to me yesterday that he's still not 100%. In GNCC racing, just the dust, you know, it's limiting your breathing. It's really putting a tax on your fitness, and you can see these guys are just absolutely smoked. Ricky Russell, again, 2nd place, back-to-back 2nd place finishes for Rough and Rowdy, coming through in that 2nd place spot. Last weekend, battling down to the final corners, nearly grabbing that win. This weekend, a little bit more subdued, but, you know, being the consistent one and just keeping right there in that 4th place spot. A couple guys in front of him had some issues. 2nd place, bringing it home. 39 seconds from a win.
Wouldn't surprise me to see Ricky Russell in the center of the box with the way he's riding right now, still before the end of the season, even at the level that Thad and of course Caleb are riding at. And wouldn't surprise me to see this guy, if things work out in his favor, like you say, real tough break for him at Snowshoe. But right now, folks, it's been a heck of a day. I mean, to tell you, we've seen a lot of things happen. We've seen a few different leaders, and we saw some leaders fall by the wayside. It's some heartbreaking moments here at the Mason-Dixon GNCC. We're going to get a word in with our top 3 here at the Specialized Winner's Circle coming up in just a moment. So stick around as GNCC Live will continue after this.
Consistent clutch fuel is vital to effective starts or to confidently maneuver around obstacles on the trail. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil was subjected to an extreme simulated start test. After 32 simulated race starts, AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil continued to deliver consistent clutch fuel, and the clutch plates remained clean with no visible wear. The competitor's oil, however, allowed discoloration and significant wear after just 16 starts. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil. Give your bike the protection it needs.
This week in Yamaha history. The 2010 Mountain Ridge GNCC in Somerset, Pennsylvania was a wet one as GNCCs go. It was a free-for-all from the start as the riders eased their way through the first turn. Riders like Paul Whibley, Barry Hawk, Nate Caney, Mike Lafferty, and Chris Bach and more found the extreme conditions challenging all day. As the day wore on, the track got better, and so did Yamaha's Charlie Mullins. Starting the first lap in 7th place, Hot Rod was able to find his way to the front of the pack by mid-race, where he led the field to the checkers, capturing his 3rd straight win that year on board his Ampro Yamaha. And fellow Yamaha rider Barry Hawk rounded out the podium that day. And that's this week in Yamaha history.
And welcome back to GNCC Live as we head down to the Specialized Winner's Circle with Mikey Waynes and our winner.
Thank you, Rodney. Well, down here, Thad Duvall, man, one heck of a ride today. I literally just asked him during commercial break, I bet you're not looking forward or you don't have any desire to have another air filter change. He said, nah, no big deal. I think that was under 10 seconds, man.
Yeah, you know, Tanner did an awesome job putting a new filter on, and I didn't really even want to stop because I didn't feel like my bike was really spitting and sputtering that bad, but just I knew I had a comfortable lead and just, yeah, had it popped off, ready to go, and the boys put it on and got a splash of gas and then just decided to cruise the last lap. It was easy to make a big mistake out there, so just cruised in the last lap, played it safe, and, yeah, brought it home in front of my hometown fans here.
That's got to be a good feeling. That's going to be the next thing, man. It's always good. And I'm kind of glad because I get a little redemption on the podium later for calling a different state your hometown, man. But about racing, you're still in that championship chase. You got to do your job, I guess, getting first place here on out, man. So where's your head at right now?
Yeah, for sure. I just, yeah, after last race, I think I just put so much pressure on myself, and I didn't perform how I wanted to. So, yeah, the last 2 weeks I just had fun with it, did some deer stuff, and hung out with my kid, my wife, and yeah, seemed to pay off. I was a little, yeah, after the last race, I felt like I just wasn't in the right place. So I got back in the right place and to win here and get that motivation back, and we're ready for the last 2 for sure.
There you go. For a guy like you, I believe deer stuff is exactly what you needed. There's your overall winner here today, Thad Duvall.
Well, there you go, and there you have it. That's the words from the winner here today on the Mason-Dixon line. He does it twice. He's on the event T-shirt this weekend as well. So those of you that are not here and you want one of those Thad Duvall event souvenir shirts with Craig DeLong on it, the Battle of Mason-Dixon, go to mototees.com and order yours online today. Right now, let's head down to the winner's circle once again where we speak with Ricky Russell.
Thanks, Rodney. Ricky Russell throwing on a freshie right here. We'll let him get adjusted. But, wow, back-to-back consecutive great races out of Ricky Russell. And tell us, man, what did it take to finish out there in the top 2 again for 2 races in a row now?
Yeah, I know, like I said, I need to get a good start, and I got the whole shot, I think, but then Caleb gave me a little good nudge coming into the second quarter and kind of dropped back. I think I was 3rd, and then rode at 3rd. I was happy. I wasn't happy, but I couldn't get forward because it's so dusty. And second lap, the dust actually was down a little bit. Maybe we got into the below that dry layer, and then I don't know. I was able to kind of just ride my own race, and I think people were dropping out like Caleb and Jordan because of dust and sucking dust. So kind of got a little bit of a gift, but I think I would have been on the podium no matter what. So I'm just happy to get second.
There you go, man. So what's the mindset heading into these last 2 rounds?
Same as always, just keep pushing and keep doing my thing, same thing, and hopefully be on the box and hopefully maybe get that W.
That W. Ricky Russell right there doing his thing, taking second place here today.
Well, like you pointed out, 2 consecutive races where Ricky Russell has been a major player in our GNCC racing, and we expect to see that continue when we roll into the summit here in a few weeks down near Beckley, West Virginia, which will be round 12 of this AMSOIL GNCC series. And of course, just a couple of notes of interest for you as we were watching timing and scoring there. As we told you, Duvall, Russell, and Bollinger, your top 3. There was a battle back there for that 4th place position, and how about it for Andrew DeLong as he and Lane Michael were in a heated battle for that 4th place position, and the Phoenix Racing Honda ride pulls up nearly on a podium position, but ends up 4th. Lane Michael rounds out the top 5. Let's head on down to the winner's circle once again with Mikey Waynes and Trevor Bollinger.
Thanks, Rodney. Well, Trevor Bollinger, man, I my hat's off to you. Coming into this one, we had the pre-race interview with you. You talked about the bout you had with shingles and happened to get that physical prowess back about yourself, and I think you certainly made it happen today.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I've been struggling the past few months with an illness, and you know, it's one of those things you can't prevent. It's just part of life, and but yeah, I'm finally feeling back close to myself. I got a little break today with some of those guys breaking down, but you know, you had to be start and stay out of the dust, and the start was definitely key, and I didn't help myself there too much, but yeah, we just kept fighting all day, and luckily it landed us on the podium.
There you go. What's the expectations for yourself heading into the last 2 rounds?
Just keep building, you know, like I basically started from 0 again this summer, and just keep building my fitness and come out swinging next year.
There you go. The Intimidator taking 3rd place here today in the overall, Trevor Bollinger.
All righty, thanks a lot, Mikey Waynes, and wow, what a day. Yeah, and Stu Baylor still in booth with us here, and Stu, I was talking about it. How about it for Andrew DeLong? I mean, as great as things were for these top 3 riders and the way things panned out for them today, how many strides and how big a deal and how big a day was it for Andrew DeLong to be able to pull off this 4th place finish?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Andrew, for a while, we didn't know, is he going to come back GNCC racing? What's he doing? He has the kid. I don't know where he's going to be, and to pull off a ride like that, like, I mean, it shows that he wants it and he's back. And you know, 4th place at a GNCC is
especially on a day like today.
On a day like today, yeah. I mean, it is impressive. I mean, he rode his heart out, and you know, he's a great guy. Love to see guys like that up there, and you know, it's got to be a sigh of relief.
Yeah, most definitely a huge sigh of relief, especially from a rider that was at one point in the same position that you're in, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. You know, Andrew was on top and then kind of got injured, went to the bottom, and then was able to claw his way back out. But another one is Lane Michaels at 5th place. I mean, that's impressive as well. I mean, he rode well all day long. I was out there right with him on the track whenever the motor let go, and you know, both of those guys kept their head down and kept their bikes running, and it's good to see those guys. Good to see new faces up there in that top 5.
And speaking of new faces, one of your good buddies and teammates there in the Teely Energy racing team, Liam Draper pulls off the win in the XC250 Pro Class, and he's with Mikey Waynes.
Thanks, Rodney. Liam Draper, man, a 1st place finish out there. What did it take to finally get the job done there in the XC2?
I just got off to a good start. You know, I was in 2nd going into the woods behind Wachowski, and followed him for a while, and seen, I don't know what lap, but he changed an air filter, and I just put my head down, pushed hard, tried to get away, and looked back and seen Craig was there, and I knew he was going to be fast here today, and I just kept pushing, and we got I had to stop with 2 laps to go and change an air filter too, so Craig got by me, and Ryder was right behind me. We went into the woods, and Ryder got around me. I went up the ass of the lapper. So, and then I seen he ran out of gas on that last lap, I think. I don't know what happened to him, but man, I'm done. I threw out with 2 laps to go on my helmet, and I'm pretty pumped to finally do it.
You absolutely did, man. Liam, go rehydrate, my friend. Liam Draper taking the win here today in the XC2.
Well, I tell you, Mikey, we're sitting here, we're looking at these results, and, you know, we kind of expected some exciting and some interesting things to take place. Liam Draper taking 8th place overall and the XC250 Pro Class win. I think that's his 1st win, but we saw all the problems with Craig DeLong. We saw him in the pits. We saw him pushing his bike. We saw him barely getting that bike started. Well, guess what? They must have got that bike started, because not only did Craig DeLong finish the race, he finished it in 2nd place in the XC250 Pro Class, and he took 9th place overall when he came across the checkers, man.
Yeah, that's impressive, and you know, a bummer for Ryder Lafferty. Obviously, I've got a good idea of what happened there. Probably sucked dirt. You know, he put himself in a good position, but Liam was able to change that filter. We talked about it in the pits there, and I think it was definitely the right call for the day.
Evan Smith in 3rd, rounding out the podium, and 10th place overall for the XC2. Austin Lee, the other Phoenix Racing Honda ride, he also battles it out, finishes out in the top 5 in a 4th place position today.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, Honda's definitely stepped their program up here in the GNCCs, and it's good to see those guys shaking the dust off, I guess you would say.
And Zach Hayes rounds out your top 5 in the XC2 250 Pro Class, and that, my friends, is going to put a wrap
on the Mason-Dixon GNCC. I want to say thanks to Stu Baylor for stepping in after his misfortunes earlier today, and of course Johnny G for all his help, and of course Mikey Waynes. And on behalf of us all here at Racer TV, I'm Rodney Tomlin saying, great day, everybody.